Before we start today's show, we have to talk about Chrono Cross. We're not ready for the deepest dive yet, but there is an event happening in the mobile game, and it's also on Steam. It's a free JRPG called Another Eden, which is a crossover event with actually the world of Chrono Cross. It's called Complex Dream. So you can jump in there and play and reunite with your old favorite characters like Surge, Kid, Harley, Glenn, Lynx. Some people probably like Lynx. And the cool thing is, for certain sections here, it actually takes elements from Chrono Cross, like the field effects in battle, like the little circles with the different colors and stuff, depending on which spell you use. So it's more than just throwing the characters in. It's actually taking some of the gameplay and ideas of Chrono Cross that people are so hungry for, and reworking them into this new mobile JRPG called Another Eden. So I know we've talked about Another Eden coming to Steam in the past, but it was genuinely such a delight when they reached out and said, hey, do you want to plug this game because it's having a crossover event with Chrono Cross on the podcast? Very easy yes, for somebody that loves Chrono Cross as much as I do. So if you're interested in this type of thing, you can always check out Another Eden, The Cat Beyond Time and Space on mobile or on Steam. Let us know what you think. And if you want to learn more, you can go to bit.ly/MinnMaxAE. There's a link in the description for you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the MinnMax Show, a place about games, friends, getting better. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Leo Vader.
Thank you. I feel like I won looking at this list already.
Hell yeah.
Hitman's on the top because you just said it first, and it hasn't. Nobody has the guts to ask you to please move it.
That's right. Sarah Pazorski, we have your voice as well. Welcome. We have Jeff Marchiafava, the fireball himself.
Hello.
Janet Garcia.
Fireball?
Yes.
Welcome. And Kyle Hilliard.
What's up?
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is part 2 of a discussion. It's going to be really confusing if you just jumped into this moment. You'll not be able to comprehend with your mortal mind what we're doing here, but we're making a list of the 2 tens. We're trying to determine and finalize our list of the greatest games of 2021. Some would say top 20. We say 2 tens, and we will not change from that philosophy from here until the end of time. The last episode was going through 1 million games that deserve some recognition that conceivably could be on this list, and then we whittled it down to just this. Before we started, though, Kyle Hilliard was shouting, "My God, what have I done with my life? I have so many regrets." What were you regretting, Kyle?
Well, one was I forgot to bring up a moment for Returnal, but maybe that'll fit in for when we talk about where it's placed on the top, the 2 tens.
Oh, so your regrets are really going back there. Okay.
Yeah, but the other one is I feel I think we made a mistake by not having Chris Pratt as Mario as the dumbest thing. I think that was a mistake.
Kyle, I 100% agree. You're going so far back in time. I also wish we could relive that moment. Yeah, I agree. I think I said I could not live with it not being on the list, and it wasn't. So, look, I don't know how long I have to live.
You are, Hansen.
You're right.
So
You're right. Everybody makes mistakes.
You're alive.
yes. I did want to bring up something a little more relevant.
Okay.
And I don't know that it necessarily changes anything, but after having thought about it for a week, and the comments, some people called it out in the comments, and we didn't say anything last episode, and I feel bad about it. It's about Bravely Default 2, and it felt like one of the reasons we kicked it off the list was because Janet hadn't finished playing it. And
right.
Someone pointed out in the comments that feels like a very weak argument, and I agree. I have argued against that in previous years, that we shouldn't be going by, hey, did this person finish it? It's really about the experience that they had playing it and their enthusiasm thus far. And so I don't know if that changes anything, but I don't, if Bravely Default 2 doesn't make the list, I don't want that to be the reason why.
Yeah.
I think that's a weak argument.
I hear you. I think with a, story-based RPG, it's more important than something that's a little bit more systemic. At the same time, I think it falls into that camp of it's a game that one person enjoyed. Janet, if it was like still your number 1 game of the year, in the top 3 games of the year, I think it stands a chance of.
You conveniently picked a number that you knew it already wasn't because you already know it's like my 5 or 6.
I
mean,
even 4.5.
I will cop to the L of not having, I wish I would fight for it more, but because I don't have more to say from more time. I think even if I had even without finishing, I think just a little bit more time would have helped. But I also feel like I have seen enough of it, and I know two people in my house have beaten it, and I also trust like their opinions on it as well. And I also know a lot of other people that like it a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I still stand by it being definitely one of the better games on our current 210s list. But I don't know if we're going back into the eons of time or if the list is golden, has been made into gold.
It's not impossible, but I'd prefer not to.
Honestly, my worry is that this will be too easy if we're just reordering them all.
Is that a joke?
I feel like it's going to be a breeze. And maybe people are looking at the length of this episode and laughing at me for that, but we'll see. But
I think you're out of your mind.
I do want to say I would suggest swapping out Psychonauts 2 for Bravely Default 2.
Or we could swap out the Forgotten City.
I saw
there's a lock right next to the Forgotten City, unfortunately.
20th
Right. Yeah, it seems like a cement block over Forgotten City. Yeah, I'd prefer not to go back and unearth all this stuff. I think the argument for Psychonauts over Bravely Default on this list is just that multiple people liked Psychonauts.
Did they? I didn't like it.
Kyle and I liked Psychonauts.
Liked it. Yeah,
I did.
Okay.
I did.
All right, I definitely like Psychonauts. Was that Janet?
Where's it on your top 10s?
You think it was good?
I think it's a very good game.
Okay.
Top 10s, it's not finalized. It's somewhere in like the 6 or 7 territory for me.
I feel like a lot of personally, the vibe I got from a lot of the Psychonauts 2 conversation was applauding the effort and ambition, but not the execution, which I do think effort and ambition is worth highlighting. It's why Ratchet & Clank isn't on here, right? Because we kind of, those of us who did play it and liked it and did acknowledge that it is a good, if not great, if not amazing game, but it just kind of felt so run of the mill for what that franchise was doing, which you could argue is unfair to the game in some senses, but I'm not going to argue that. Like, that's how I feel about Ratchet & Clank, where, I like to look back at this year of like when I think of lists for years, sort of what's the pinnacle of it, which, again, I think there could be an argument made for it, but I think at the end of the day, execution does matter a lot. Mm-hmm. Like, and on that note, I would even rather like, I would be okay with in a world where Ratchet & Clank was swapped out for Psychonauts 2, like even, because I just don't think, I think it's like, it's cool that it's there because it took so long and it's the mind of Tim Schafer and like, it's no shade to like, that team and the creator, but like,
I think Psychonauts is better than Ratchet & Clank.
Ooh, I don't.
Pretty significant.
I think it's certainly more interesting than Ratchet & Clank. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's not really what we're arguing.
You feel anything from Bravely Default 2. And I know a lot of people feel passionate about Psychonauts 2, and I didn't get very far in it, but also I didn't get very far in it because I didn't think it was good.
Right. I think that... Oh, sorry, go ahead. You're
not alone in the Psychonauts 2 definitely has, like, it had a big moment for a lot of people this year.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a vibe that I don't know, like... There's some y'all are not alone in the Psychonauts 2 praise.
And honestly, that's why I was expecting to go into this fight ready to deflate Psychonauts 2's balloon a little bit. But I think that is based on like a lot of the hype out there and a lot of people saying it was game of the year when it came out. It's like, it masterfully tackles mental health issues. It's like, it touches on a couple things, but it's not some masterclass in psychology that some people are seeing it as, but I don't want to deflate it too much. I think I just was, retaliating against the people that were like, rah, greatest game of the year. It's like, it's a very good game. It's not game of the year, but that's, diving pretty far in the weeds.
It could be today, though. We don't know.
That's true. I thought you were going to say, Kyle, when you were having your biggest regrets, that Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon came out. Since we started the game of the year stuff. Okay.
I've played it for about 30 minutes. I like it so far, but I'm definitely not like, it's not one where I'm like, ooh, I bet if I play this more, I'll regret that it's not on this list. I think I'm going to have a good time with it. I don't think it's that kind of game.
Right. I played a fair amount of it and played competitive puzzle games, which are my jam. And it's like, it seems fun. Another one that I realized we didn't put on the big list. Just, Splitgate deserves a spot on here, right?
Like not Halo, right? Halo Portal?
Halo Portal.
Yeah, okay.
That's your marketing. I didn't play it. I don't know. What did y'all think of it?
Leo probably played the most.
Yeah, it's really fun at first when you're playing against bots and they completely
Right.
obscure it and
Right.
don't tell you. And then you get in the real game and you're like, oh yeah, this is just fine. It's interesting to do kills through portals once in a while, but there's no reason to play it now that Halo's out, I don't think.
Okay. Well, there we go.
I think the
Split it,
fact that
everybody.
you all forgot it for a 4-hour conversation tells us where it lasts on this list.
Okay.
I did think of it, but didn't think I wanted to bring it up.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I was trying to speak for you, which I will never do again, Leo. I promise.
you.
So at this point, let's try and stick with this. But naturally, if something, it's still an open door here. Well, it's kind of like a closed
If we
screen
suddenly
door.
remember we hate one of these games.
Right. It's a closed screen door between the end of the top 2 tens and then also everything else on this list.
Can we just have Bravely Default 2 as the only one in the bubble currently? In the actual bubble?
That is some dangerous
Can you put it at
territory.
21?
Yep, we
There
can
you
put
go.
it as 21. It is.
Yeah.
that's forbidden fruit. That is so diabolical right there. Okay.
Tantalizing.
All right. Let's see. Jeff Markiafava, the one and only. Thanks for being here, dude. If you're looking at this list and you want to move something, what is your first instinct for something to move? Just, I guess for people listening, we should probably do this. Going from top down for the 2 tens. Hitman 3, Returnal, Deathloop, Resident Evil Village, Outer Wilds, Echoes of the Eye, Before Your Eyes, It Takes Two Eyes, Life is Strange True Colors, Metroid Dread, Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker, Chicory, A Colorful Tale, Unpacking, Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Riders Republic, Resident Evil 4 VR, Halo Infinite, Solar Ash, Psychonauts 2, and Valheim.
Well, if I'm going first impression...
Wait, did you say the Forgotten City? Did you not say that?
Oh, did I? Forgotten City locked.
Forgotten City is
at 20.
locked in at 20. It's not even worth mentioning because
Yeah.
it'll never
Okay.
Honestly, we could just delete it off the list because, it's not even relevant anymore.
By the way,
Yeah.
as a joke, I tried to add an unlocked lock emoji next to Bravely Default 2, but you can't even tell the difference between the two emojis, so it's a total waste of a joke.
That's right. And that is reminding Jeffum of the one game that he thinks should be moved.
I don't think Hitman 3 should be number 1.
That's true.
Hey,
That is true.
That's all I'm going to say.
Leo, I think it was a bold bid to put it up there because who is Sarah, Janet, Leo played Hitman 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I played some.
I played some. I played a little
Play
bit.
the first level.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is this the only game that we all technically played on this list?
I think we should
We have
take
the whole
it.
Not.
Well,
No.
we
Yeah,
all played
there has to
Resident
be
Evil,
more.
I think.
Yeah, we played a lot of these.
Yeah,
all
I think you're right.
together.
I think you're right.
I will say
Deathloop,
it's-
Returnal, like
Thinking about this last night and this morning,
Yeah.
I genuinely have no clue what's going to be number 1, which is like, an
me
interesting.
neither. I keep
I
bouncing
really
back.
have no idea.
I feel like it's gonna be Returnal
I have.
because of you, Kyle. The call's coming from inside the
Because
house.
of me.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
I'd love that. Hey, I'd be okay with that. You know what? Let's go ahead and move it up, just to have it
I'd
there.
be
just to-
okay
Nah,
with
let's not get carried away. Let's not get crazy here.
well,
All right.
I love.
Let's just move
I love
Hitman
Returnal,
3
but
down one
I would
spot.
honestly, just to pull the rug out from under myself, I would kind of feel bad if Returnal was number 1, being that I'm the only one that
Kyle,
played it and finished
have
it.
confidence.
That seems
You need, like,
You're the
unfair.
only
Kyle,
gamer here.
come on, man.
I mean, what are we gonna
Yes.
Yeah. You should have
don't have the
Podzorski level confidence in your choice. You just really lean into it. You can't deflate it so soon.
I guess that's true. I'm bad at this.
Leo, since you're, maybe the biggest Hitman fan here or on planet Earth, just for ballparking, where do you think is a good zone for Hitman 3 on this list?
On this list, if it was at number 7, I'd be happy.
Okay, 17?
7.
7. I'm sorry, Discord's cutting out. It keeps adding a teen, which I think is weird. Okay, Hitman 3, looking at the list, it's like, not that it needs to be all original. Certainly we've been really slavish to the past, in the past with these lists and stuff like that. But looking at this list, there's so many original games, unique games on here. Hang on, now I'm second guessing it, looking at it again.
You can say it. You can say it.
No, I'm looking at Hitman 3, and a lot of it's coming from just me living off of Leo's highs for my entire life. But it's like, is it just a little bit that Hitman 2 was such an explosion of bliss and Hitman 3 is kind of riding that residual fume of still pretty fun?
If we want to treat sequels that way, it's had certainly enough new features to warrant its existence, and it being the finale of the trilogy like it was the first one where the story was actually compelling and pulling me through. That was like new for the trilogy for me, honestly.
That's interesting.
It felt like the first two games were entirely just teasing something happening, and then Hitman 3 was it actually happening. So
I like new mechanic, good story, like on the back of the box.
Right, and like playable story moments, you know, like in Chongqing, deleting the database or whatever. There was nothing like that in the previous games.
I remember pre-release, like one of the new mechanics they're hyping up is like, hey, you can unlock shortcuts. Look at it, it's Dark Souls, everybody. You can drop a ladder. Like, what are the other big features this time around for Hitman 3 that you think kind of elevated it?
Oh, wow. Bluff called. the shortcut
Nano was... So many thoughts running through my head right now. I mean, so it's overwhelming.
Where do you start?
Yeah, I mean, the shortcuts, you know, you gotta snipe that one. The banana came in Hitman 2 DLC. I don't want to take credit for that where it's not due, you know.
Oh, I'm typing out the teen as we speak.
Yeah, I don't know. There's probably things that I don't remember because I truly just haven't thought about that game in a long time.
I don't think, you know, to kind of back Leo on here, even though for me, I probably would put Hitman 3 at 10. Like, that's just where it lands on my personal list. That's why I have it. But I don't think a sequel necessarily needs to do something new to be good, which I know can be confusing to people where it's like, I thought Ratchet and Clank was bad. It's all contextual. So it depends. Not every game's treated the same. Like, I could say the same thing about Resident Evil Village. What's new there? There's not anything inherently new. It's about the sum of the parts and the feeling that it evokes and everything that's kind of happening at once. I think the times that newness is really necessitated is in heavily released games like sports simulators, some degrees of racing sims, things like that, where we've been getting this game for a while and we want to know, people have gotten to that point, that breaking point of they need it to be different or they need to innovate in some way. And there's a lot of ways to innovate. And I think story isn't one to be glossed over, even though granted, I didn't really care about Hitman 3's story, but I didn't play the other two. For me, jumping into Hitman 3, it was fun in the freedom and the AI, which was usually smart, sometimes a little bit dumb, but I was just so impressed by how that game was. I think in an era too where stealth mechanics has become very popularized, but is very rarely done well. Like, Hitman does it beautifully. It's fun. It's charming. It's gorgeous to look at. You can beat someone unconscious with a muffin. Like, this is one of the best games of the year, and I think it's well in the middle of the pack at first guess.
Totally, it feels like a middle.
Hansen's point, though, it's like that stuff was already novel previously, right?
Yeah, outside of the story stuff and, you know, stuff she mentioned there. Sarah, what's your experience?
I think that is a dangerous path to get down when talking about video games, though, that are so iterative.
Sure. Yeah,
that's fair.
Sarah, what's your take on Hitman 3? What was your experience with it overall?
I had a lot of fun. It was my first Hitman game.
Nice.
I forgot that there was a story involved with it. I just liked killing people. Yep. It lended itself for a lot of funny situations, but I definitely would put it around like the 13 or 14 area on the list. It is on my honorable mention list, though.
Yeah.
Well, and that I did have a lot of fun with it.
Let's split the difference and just put it as that 10 spot, like Janet recommended, just for where we're at right now. Kyle, bottom half, the lower two tens, the cesspool. What looks off to you?
What looks off to me?
Yeah, what would you slide?
I think Valheim's too low. I think Unpacking's too high.
I completely agree with that. Let's just go ahead and, if I may,
flip them.
I think Psychonauts is a good 19. Is that nuts? And let me just go ahead and flip these. So we have Valheim as 12 placeholder, Unpacking as 18. Let's let's unpack Unpacking. Jeff, did you finish Unpacking?
No, I think I'm close.
Yeah, it's really not too long at all.
It's the one that I keep going back to.
Yeah. Unpacking
as just like short moments where I have time to play a game, and it's one that I want to keep. It's kept me coming back to it as well. Yes. I have plenty of games on the Switch that I could be playing. But I don't know. There's something that's just super charming about it.
It's the simple idea of, we talked about it before, but it's the idea of you are journeying through a character's life just by unpacking their belongings in a series of houses and picking up clues from the surroundings and the items that you're unpacking about what is happening in that character's life, which is a very good premise. And it's excellent. It's weird. You know, I feel like we say this every year, but it's weird to still be experiencing new emotions and intriguing ideas in video games this deep into the industry. But like having a moment of like trying to unpack my GameCube and there's no space for it because of my boyfriend's stupid 360 and all of the controllers all over the living room. Like, this is something I never thought I'd experience in a video game. But I really enjoyed it. Like, Sarah and Janet, you both enjoyed unpacking, right?
Yeah. I haven't finished it, but
okay.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, I finished it and I like shed a little tear at the end. Because it's just so weird, like, the emotion that you can show just through items. Like, watching, you know, the same exact books you've been unpacking every single time. Same books, the same stuffed animal you've had since you were a child. You're constantly unpacking that. Watching someone go through, I think at some point you unpack, like, a cane. So you assume that she's been in an accident.
Yeah.
And, like, they don't tell you, like, oh, she's been in a horrible accident, but, like, her living situation gets not as great as it was. Mm-hmm. And then you're like just trying to make like she's sitting on beanbags on the floor. And then going from that, which was I think like probably the character's lowest point, to like at the end she has a house with multiple rooms and like a wonderful partner. I just like shed a little tear. I was like, she did it. Our girl did it.
I think I was expecting a little bit more of like an epiphany or some big conclusion. Not that it needed it. I really enjoyed the journey it was telling and the relatively simple story of like, no, this is just a person's life. And it's still such a novel way to experience a story. Sorry, Kyle's looking...
No, I'm laughing because in my head I was like, what is your big conclusion for that? And in my head I'm like, are you packing a coffin or something?
Something like that. Absolutely.
The spoiler walls up. Can we put the spoiler walls up on Unpacking?
Spoilers for Unpacking. Hear ye. Check the time code.
Spoiling the middle and the end wasn't.
You're right.
I don't know what else is there.
Retroactively put it everywhere else, but okay. Spoilers. Yes.
For me, it was when she starts dating her partner, and her partner is represented as like a tiger doll, and you are a pig, and your pig is all like messed up because you've had it since you were a kid, and then you move into the house and you get a nursery room, and the baby has both a tiger and a pig that you can like put in their crib. Right. That I just lost it. I was just like, oh my god, like that's so beautiful. Anyways,
totally no, it's amazing.
Very sweet, yeah.
It's amazing just the little things that can come through, like the first partner's apartment that you move into, you could just tell, like, I think this dude sucks. Like, everything's just too glossy.
There's no room for your stuff.
Yep, it's very fancy and slick. Like, this is no good. And then you move back in with your parents. And then what I thought it was going for, and I was so worried about it, is, you start building out the crib and the nursery area. And it's like, if this child dies and I have to, like, move in and there's just not a crib anymore, or you have to like pack back up the baby stuff. I was waiting for like one of those crazy story bombs to go off, and the fact that it didn't, maybe it would be nice. And I was building a better story in my head of like, oh, you know, be a brilliant end for this game is that stuffed animal you're carrying throughout the entire game. What if at the end you have to put that to life? It came to life. Yeah. Now what if at the end you like put it in your baby's crib? And then that was like how you triggered.
Well, you got your baby their own version.
I know. Which again, I can't create a better version in my head and be mad that the game isn't that.
I guess you want the child to have a classic toy, an old school toy.
Yes. Spoiler warning off. We good for spoilers? Okay, spoilers off for Unpacking. It's as I was playing it, I was thinking about why am I enjoying this so much? Why is this so compelling to me? I don't understand. It's just packing and unpacking. But I was like, you know what's compelling about this is it's just so rare to have a video game story that makes you reflect on your life that much. Like in the history of video game narratives, this is in the 99 point, or I guess the 0.1 percentile of actually sincerely making you reflect on your own life and where you've been compared to what? Resident Evil Village? How much are you thinking about your own life in that? Not that that's the goal of all art, but it's just like,
you're not a dad yet, dude. That changes the whole experience.
Oh, yeah, I love those games where they're like, now that I understand, or like, oh, I had a daughter and now I respect women. It's like, all right, man, they kept this in the drafts. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't go advertising this angle.
Yeah.
And there's also the the time difference plays into that, where it's like the first place you're unpacking a huge CRT monitor, which is basically its own entire box, and then you switch to a laptop and you have flat screens and you're going through the different console generations and stuff. And if you live through those times and pack during those times, it's got
a nice like nostalgia angle to it. Again, I haven't finished it yet because I've just been like, when I sit down next will be when I finish it. I just have not gotten around to it, but I played it like the first like 2 hours or something. And I think it's also just very satisfying because for me, like in real life, unpacking and setting up I've moved a lot in my life. Like I'm going to guess like I've had to pack and unpack probably a dozen times, maybe less, maybe a little bit south. And I'm only like 27. Wow. So like, I've done a lot of that's not even probably counting the back and forth from the dorms and stuff like that. So I've had to move a lot. I'm sure I'll move again sometime soon. And I've never had movers either. One day we're going to shell out the money for it. But that being said, I really love setting up my space though. And there's something very exciting to me about getting a new apartment and having it in a new context. And I think what's great about unpacking, if we're thinking about escapism, like it's that perfect blend of escapism and pulling on reality, because the fun is setting up your stuff. What sucks is like lugging the boxes up and having stuff be like, where does this go? And having to trek back and forth. And we all try to pack it correctly. But at one point, and they do a little bit of this in unpacking too, which I think is fun. At one point, it's like, why is actually, I used the bath towels to wrap the silverware so it wouldn't scratch I had to stuff some Wii games into,
why is this here? Right.
Marked cabinet or something. So I think it did such a good job at that. And it just pulls on a lot of things. It's very satisfying too, just to place all this stuff. I think the sound design is really smart in that game.
Finishing a box too. Yeah, totally. And like whenever you finish a box, it does like that folding animation. It's like, yes, complete victory.
So are we saying it should be higher?
At the same time,
that's what I'm saying. You're talking it higher.
If I may deflate it a little bit, I think there's always something on the 210s that's like, it's the cool little thing. And I think unpacking is the cool little thing on this list.
Okay, then write the cool little thing next to it. And we'll discuss where everything else goes.
Okay, but at the same time, the cool little thing, I do think there's some frustrations that, like the game about, just unpack your stuff and kind of absorb the story. Totally get it. Like it is frustrating then when, all right, I think I did it. And there's just red errors all over the place about like, okay, this object that I don't know what it is, it's supposed to go in some other room. What is this thing? And just being told no in that type of game is really frustrating. And at the end of every house.
How many times were you told no?
Don't put your silverware on the floor.
It's not a matter of silverware. It's just like, I'm trying to think of a good example of what was it. It would always go in the kitchen. Oh, it's like it's like some sort of like electronic note taker or something. And I'm like, I don't know, the bedroom. And it's like, no, it's an error unless it's in the kitchen. I'm like, I don't understand.
I don't think you understood what that was.
That's a problem.
I don't remember an electronic note taker.
Do you know what I'm talking? It's like a tablet thing.
The closest thing to a problem I had, and again, I haven't finished it, but like I think at one point there was like a towel, like a little towel.
Yes.
And it's like, this is a tea towel or a bath towel. So I'll give you that, but like, I don't know. Like, it's one funny thing from unpacking though on just social media that I saw. I think someone did a write up on this, but a lot of players were getting stuck in the level with game systems because they didn't know what a GameCube was.
Yeah, Anna wrote that up.
Like, what is this weird toaster? And it's like, oh man, this is different. But yeah, I thought that was funny.
I do like it where it is, honestly. Like
I like it where it is too.
It's on our 210s. It's getting to do.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, Sarah, in that bottom chunk, what would you slide around? Keep in mind, Forgotten City, boy.
I think Chicory should be higher.
I agree. Okay.
Can I ask you a potentially dangerous question?
Yeah.
So I know I'm not factoring queue times at all. Like that's just an unfortunate side effect of the nature of the game. That's not like a representative of its quality at all. But is Endwalker like unique for Final Fantasy 14? Is it really this like new awesome thing, or is it just an extension of a good game? I mean, like what makes it stand out?
Is the conclusion of the story that they started in A Realm Reborn. So that's what it launched with. When they crashed the game, they made a new one. It's A Realm Reborn, Heavensward, Stormblood, Shadowbringer, and now we're on Endwalker. So everything
it was like building to this.
Yeah, everything that we've encountered, like all of the new characters in Stormblood, Heavensward, Shadowbringer is just kind of a different story, but it's kind of coming to a standing ovation conclusion. in Endwalker, I would say. And it turns out to be one of the best Final Fantasy stories that I think they've ever had, personally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just why I think Endwalker is so important.
My question for Endwalker on this list is, how much of it on this list in your mind is a celebration of Final Fantasy 14 because it's awesome and they've been updating it and you've had such a great time throughout its history, versus like the specific Endwalker stuff? And like the comparison I was thinking about last night, again, tossing and turning in bed. Oh, yes. Come on in, Poggers.
Poggers wants you to... Because I think you're going to start arguing down games as a service versus like individual games. So you're going to talk about how Hitman 3 has iterated on the Hitman thing, but you're going to look at me and say Endwalker isn't like...
No. Here's my analogy.
Deja vu.
The analogy I was thinking of was Bowser's Fury. About like, if we're just talking about Bowser's Fury, we're not talking about Super Mario 3D World. Is that the equivalent of celebrating all of Final Fantasy 14 on this list, but not just Endwalker? So I'm just trying to zoom in on specifically the Endwalkerness of it all.
Yeah.
Like
we're zoomed in.
Just the Endwalker slice.
Endwalker has the highest user score on Metacritic in 2021. It's a 9.5.
Because only people reviewing it are people that have put 4,000 hours into Final Fantasy 14 at this point.
The thing was so popular they had to stop selling it.
I get it.
You literally cannot buy Final Fantasy 14 anymore because Endwalker was so popular.
No one's doubting that.
I don't you're looking at
I didn't kick off
it's
the
fine. We can have this discussion. I got notes.
Such a blind spot for me.
I love it.
I got notes. It won 2 awards at the Game Awards.
Sarah,
best ongoing game, best community game. Yoshi P wrote it. You're gonna look at Yoshi P and you're gonna tell Yoshi P he's wrong.
I've met Yoshi P and I told him he was wrong to his face.
You're gonna tell him, you're gonna say, I don't think Endwalker deserves to be on this list.
Sarah,
does that happen, Hanson? That you just meet people and you're like, you're wrong, and I'm like, is this the right person?
Here's the thing, Sarah.
Yeah.
All that is well and good. We want you, Sarah. We want your experience with Endwalker. That's what's going to move this around this list.
It's great. Ben, I have so much passion for Endwalker. Look me in my eyes.
I can. I'm scared.
And look at the passion that I have put into Endwalker.
That keeps getting talked about.
I mean, okay, sincerely,
yes.
No, I'm not. Sincerely, I was leading to somewhere. I wasn't just asking if you were being sincere with that maniac look in your eyes, but sincerely, not that this is the deciding factor, but on your personal list, I'm still trying to get a sense of.
Yes, it is in my top 10.
Okay.
It's number 3 on my top 10 games.
Okay, all right, that's what I was curious. I
don't know what you want. I have got facts. I have got notes.
I just didn't know.
I cried about an elephant.
I was just wondering if it was number 1 by a mile, or I was just trying to get that sense. I swear.
Yes.
It's number 3 by a mile.
It's a massive blind spot for me. I haven't even looked at that game, and I probably never will. But
it's fine.
That's why I just wanted to get your feedback on it.
Yeah. I mean, I have 600 hours in Final Fantasy 14, and if you don't have 600 hours, it's okay to not, feel bad about not playing it. But I do feel like we shouldn't ignore it.
No, of course not.
Nope, it's on the 2 tens.
Thank
it's
you.
not moving.
Actually,
stop moving.
Do you guys want to pause the podcast so we can just go play it for a bit and then come back?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I can take you through some dungeons. We can do some raids.
Anything I want to do less than have to be made to do. You're going to have to pay me a lot to get it's funny because when you work in this industry, you can't really make the joke of you couldn't pay me to play. You could. I don't know if we have that in our budget, but you could.
I think so.
I think, Final Fantasy 14, it's a same deal for me where I'm like, I don't know this. I barely know what it is. I don't think I've ever played a game, even in the genre of Final Fantasy 14, and I don't know if I ever will. But I do know, I hear people I know and respect constantly yelling about it on Twitter. Right. But I don't really know why. I just know that it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
But what does that mean? And I guess I'd love to hear from you, Sarah, on what that game means to you, and just a little bit of what was
put the spoiler wall up. Put the spoiler wall up.
Spoilers for Endwalker?
Yeah.
Spoilers for Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker. Hear ye. You've had your warning. Okay, go for it.
Okay, so the experience you get in an MMORPG that you won't get in any other games, okay, is the whole dungeon experience, the trial experience. You're all going through this RPG together. I went into a trial, which is basically a huge boss fight. 7 strangers. I don't know these people. They don't know me. We go into this huge trial. We're going to fight God. We're fighting Zodiac, who is literally God.
Sounds like a Final Fantasy game.
It is a Final Fantasy game at the base. So take your
least you're not
base Final
talking with
Fantasy
God, right?
expectations. Yeah, at least you're not debating
Is
God.
God an alien though?
All right, no
entire
spoilers.
time.
No spoilers.
God is actually a primal created by the ancient race of Asians to stop the world from ending, but it's actually still ending because we killed God, which was kind of like an oops.
It's cool.
That's a my bad. But we go in to kill God, and it was just, we were like wiping. We wiped at least twice because there's some weird mechanic where like the bunch of AoEs appear on the ground. Your character lifts up and the stage twists 90 degrees and they put you back down. And if you land in an AoE, it's like, good night. And then there's also, you have to read the stars in the sky. And wherever the stars are is where the AoE is going to fall on the stage.
That's cool.
And all of us were struggling so hard on our, and every time we wiped, you have to go back to the beginning. Everybody has to start over again. And on the third time, we looked at each other and we're like, does anybody know what the hell we're supposed to do here? And this white mage called Happy Sneak goes, I know what we're supposed to do. Just everyone just stand on me. So the entire boss fight, we're running around. She put a marker on her, and we're running around after Happy Sneak. Because I'm like, shit's falling from the sky. Like, I'm just trying to kill God. I'm dancing as hard as I can. Like, I'm pressing buttons, and I'm just following Happy Sneak. And we get so close. We get so close to the end. Half of our party wipes, and we're like, just hold on. Like, you just have to hold on and keep killing it. And I think we can pull through this. And then we did it, and everyone was so happy. We were like, oh my God, you guys, I can't believe we got through this. I was like, Happy Sneak, I owe you my life. Like, I owe you my children. And like, that's the experience you get in an MMO that you will not get in any other game.
Cool.
So,
why is Endwalker specifically?
because
Cool.
the bosses and the dungeons, they've taken a lot from it. The dungeons are a lot better. The bosses are a lot better. The story is really good. I mean, it's like, consider it as a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
And
Like,
if you get
gotcha.
confused because of the MMO elements, that's fine. But it's an RPG first and an MMO second.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
Have you gone to
is
the
how I would argue it.
Have you gone to the moon yet?
Yeah, I got to the moon. There's a bunch of rabbits preparing for the apocalypse there.
Are they like the Viera? What are they called from?
I'm a Viera.
Okay.
But they're called the Loporits, and they're these really cute bunny people, and they were created by the other god to build a spaceship to help us escape Earth in the final days. But instead, I think we're going to use it to try and prevent the final days. But also, I think we're heading towards an accepting the inevitable, and that all things must die.
Like MMOs
Even those we love.
and servers. Feeling good? And 14 spoilers?
Yeah.
Okay. Barriers down, everybody. Here's the conundrum I'm looking at, Sarah. Is you said, and again, this is all work in progress still, but the top 10 list, you had 2 games above it. What did you have above Endwalker for your
I
personal?
had Echoes of the Eye and Chicory.
Okay. Solid. I mean, seems like a good move to move Chicory up above 14.
Can we swap Chicory and Outer Wilds? Is that a dangerous suggestion?
And 14, you mean?
I would still like Outer Wilds to...
It's so tough with Outer Wilds because, like, I played and beat Outer Wilds, and I thought it was okay. It did not grab me, and that colors my sort of even interest in playing Echoes of the Eye. Is that I just thought it was cool, it's interesting, but like, it's a game that I couldn't complete without looking at a walkthrough, and I don't enjoy that kind of experience. But we're not talking about the original Outer Wilds.
Right.
But that's why I'm just kind of like a little shoulder shruggy about Outer Wilds, but like I haven't played it, so I haven't played Echoes of the Eye specifically.
Yeah. There's a lot.
You're gonna make me defend Echoes of the Eye back to back.
No, we won't make you do that back to back. Let's focus on Chicory.
No.
I wouldn't focus too much on Chicory here for this list overall. Who all played Chicory here? Okay, Janet, Sarah,
Raising my hand.
Jeff played a little. Kyle played a little.
Yeah. Like
okay.
An hour. Yeah.
Really, really lovely game. Kyle, you're like an hour in, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Have you gotten to the point like it starts to become more and more of a Zelda game. It starts to move further away from just like, oh, it's the cute little indie game where you go around and color stuff and it's cool. You can change your wardrobe and your hat and you can paint the world as you run through it, and it becomes a little bit more systems focused, adventure focused. And I think it's really solid. as one of those for you 2D Zelda fans.
That's what I wanted to hear a little more about, because I was still, for the part that I played, I was like, okay, you can paint these bushes and they'll grow bigger and you can use that as a path. And it wasn't grabbing me from a, mechanics puzzle exploration level. But I assume that all continues to get more complicated and interesting.
Yeah, you get abilities to explore new areas, move up waterfalls, all that stuff, light up caves you couldn't get into before, unlock new areas, go find secrets, all that stuff around the world. Yeah, it's a light mechanic spoiler, I suppose.
I mean, some of those were really surprising, and I think that was some of the fun of the game. With any Metroidvania, because it's a little bit Metroidvania-y in the way that you get abilities and the abilities unlock new areas. Like, it has that part. I probably wouldn't call it a Metroidvania game, but it has that element, which is a Metroidvania element. And then some of those, like any game of that genre, it's like, okay, it's kind of obvious that, like, when I went into the caves and I couldn't see anything, I'm like, I'm probably going to get something where I can see in the dark because they built a cave. But other things, like, even, you already mentioned it, so I'll just say it, but like being able to swim up water and stuff like that. If it's painted specifically, like, I wasn't expecting that. And like those kind of things really opened up a whole bunch of areas of the game. But yeah, the puzzles do get more complex. And for me, the number one thing that, I think the gameplay itself is absolutely superb. My only qualm with that game is that the boss battles are not very interesting or fun to play. But there's also not that many of them, and you can skip them if you wanted to. So it's like not that big of a deal. But outside of the puzzles, which I think are challenging, but they also give you a way to like get help by calling home. Like the real thing that to me makes this shine. Like, I think it'd be on here even with the gameplay. I think it's really unique and fun and creative and interesting and really pulls you into the world. But it's really the dialogue and the plot. Like, it is so heartfelt and funny and thought-provoking, and every NPC is both worth talking to and worth doing the quest lines for in a way that I think is such a rarity in games in general. Like, I platinumed this very happily, and it was awesome. And I feel like I got so much more out of it. There's also like all these wild systems that are happening. Again, light mechanical spoilers, but at one point you can like put furniture and stuff in your home, and it's not me saying, oh, I like it because it's like Animal Crossing, but I was just so surprised by it. I'm like, and now it's like, it's this, like, there are so many core amazing games it pulls mechanics from, and it does it in a way that's both brilliant and refreshing at once, where I look at this and I don't think, oh, like, this is like Splatoon, even though it is like Splatoon. Like, I look, like, the closest comparison is maybe Link's Awakening, but there's so many smart design things that have been solidified, and it's pulled so much of that DNA and managed to make something that I've never seen before and probably will never see again. Like, I don't think games are going to be having you color to move through the world in that way, but it does it in such a smart and fun and charming, like, some of its parts that, this was my game of the year for a very long time. And I think it's many people's game of the year. And it is like one of the best games that I've played in ages. Yeah. On that paint front, it is so satisfying to have that goopy paint sound as you're painting all around, and then like nothing better than you can take that off if you think it sounds nasty too. So there's so many smart little things in that game. Or turn it up if you think it sounds nasty. But you can actually hold down the paintbrush too, and then just like spreads across the world. It is so satisfying just to color every surface. And the cool thing is going to the world map, and it still has a track of all of your paint around the entire world. It's just so crazy to see that level of impact. But yeah, the big thing is the story and the writing. I mean, just on like the small little thing where everyone's always so amazed by your art. Like, wow, this looks so fantastic. I'm going to hang this crudely drawn cat up in my house. This looks so good.
Everyone is so supportive,
right? And they're like, your art sucks and you're a sham and you don't deserve to be here. And it's like, damn, man, I just came into this art class. What's going on? And there's so many like fun, interesting moments like that. Like in this game, I have an insane amount of screenshots because I'll get into a conversation with someone and they say something that's like really smart that I want to share or that's funny or interesting. And I'm like, wow, that's hard hitting. Screenshot. Next line, also hard hitting. Next line, I have entire conversations just on my PlayStation because all of it's so good. Like, it's insane. Yeah, absolutely. And the larger plot about the perils of being an artist, a lot of imposter syndrome stuff thrown in there. And, you could read it all. So just coming from a game developer about the stress of being a game developer and what it takes from you personally to pull it off. But then you can broaden it out just about art in general and to put yourself out there and to think that you're worthy of stepping up. But it goes in some really interesting, dark ways. I will throw out there a reminder for folks that if you've never played Wander Song,
It's this creator's last game, and it's excellent and deals with some of the same themes. So I feel like narratively, that was kind of a stepping stone to where we're at with Chicory. Sarah, you streamed the whole freaking thing.
I did, and I really liked the overworld like light game where it's like, oh, it's just a game about like coloring my pretty pictures and like painting things for people and like making cute little gifs of this cat that I drew. And then the underside of it, which is the absolute toxic nature of anyone being considered like a chosen one.
Right.
And what that does to a person, like mentally, having the weight of the world on you. And that sometimes, if I'm remembering correctly, sometimes it's not something that you can help yourself out of. You know, sometimes it's just so overwhelming that like you need somebody else, which is what the dog does. That's Pizza or whatever her name is.
Right.
But sometimes you just need someone to like help take the burden off of you. Of being like the chosen one, which is what Chicory is, considered like the artist with the brush.
Right.
So I just think this was the best look at a mental health emotional game this year, like compared to all the other ones that took shots at like, how can we talk like human nature? This one did the best job, which is odd because it is just a tiny dog and a paintbrush.
Yep. I agree.
Well, you didn't play Resident Evil 4 VR. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, look, stop me if I'm crazy. I'm moving Chicory. Hey, this is all placeholder. What if we just did this? What if we just put Chicory?
What if we just did this?
I don't know.
0.
Janet, can you fix this?
I'm learning that you really did. Okay, yeah, just, it's all good. Don't worry about it.
The numbering system is all broken for people. As long as we don't forget. Thank you. God, you're so smart. And again, this is all.
That's why I like Chicory. Of course I am. Oh, that I f***ed it up there.
Okay, for the audio listeners, the list right now is Chicory number 1, Returnal number 2, Deathloop, Resident Evil Village, Before Your Eyes, It Takes Two, Life is Strange True Colors, Metroid Dread, Outer Wilds, Echoes of the Eye, Hitman 3, Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker, Valheim, Guardians of the Galaxy, Red Dead Republic, Resident Evil 4 VR, Halo Infinite, Solar Ash, Unpacking, Psychonauts 2, The Forgotten City.
Can I offer a quick, potentially, I mean, this is tough to say, like a undebatable, inoffensive swap that's very focused on me?
Yeah, but I'm going to debate it.
Can we swap Resident Evil 4 VR and Solar Ash?
Oh, so you want to move Solar Ash up to number 15 and Resident Evil 4 down to number 17?
That is very inoffensive.
I wish you didn't do that.
Since it only involves yourself.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, they're my picks, and I'm the only one.
It's you fighting with you. It's like
right. So you're saying that...
And then Riders Republic up to number, I don't know, 4.
Well, this is the question. Yeah, so you're saying...
Let's try that one at 1 and see how we feel.
Let's just test it out. Let's just see how everybody feels about it.
Yeah, Leo and Kyle, where do you feel is a good spot for Riders Republic on this big old list?
I'd like to see it in the top 10 somewhere.
I mean, obviously, I feel lucky it's here at all.
That's
Based
right.
on passion, I mean, I want it at number 10. Or you know what? I mean, to say something that it could replace, I think It Takes Two easily belongs in the second 10.
Disagree.
What was your favorite joke from that game?
Okay, joke. What was your favorite joke from Riders Republic, Hotshot?
You have 30 minutes of story total in Riders Republic. It Takes Two is assaulting you with story every second, and it all sucks.
It does not. It's not every second.
What a brave thing to say. It takes, I mean, this is, I'm here for the It Takes Two slander. I'm not here for the Riders Republic praise. The praise to be clear. I'm only here to be me. No, but It Takes Two. Is it 2? I think it's higher than I think I'd put it on my personal list currently. Yeah, sure. I think it's like, the platforming is really good, and that is hard to do, and it is like a multiplayer game, and like that's great.
I also, real quick, I just want to say, best platformer of the year, I think, is It Takes Two, which is a high praise when it came out against Ratchet and Psychonauts.
Absolutely, really best platformer of the year. Absolutely, I would go so far.
Honestly, again, Psychonauts 2, I don't think the jumping is good, so I think it's inherently not a good platformer.
Sure.
Ratchet & Clank, it is still just so bright yet dry at the same time that, I also put it above Ratchet because it's a little bit more interesting. But it's long as hell. I think it explores a lot of fun things mechanically. Like, I love that it is a buffet of delights, but there's also a little bit too much there. And I think there are some parts where I'm like, this is better than something else. I really like the genre integration. Like, again, it's a great game, but I think narratively it really fails. Like, I don't think it's saying anything significant. And I think what it does end up how it ends, which we could do spoilers if I want to talk about the ending. I don't know if we want to talk about it.
I'd like to put spoiler walls up because I'd like to hear it.
All right.
As someone who hasn't played it,
spoiler
but would
walls
like to
up.
pass judgment.
You got it. Spoiler walls for It Takes Two, everybody. It Takes Two. Spoilers commence right now. Yes.
I think this is the first time I'm actually talking about the spoilers for It Takes Two because I haven't been able to talk about it because I don't want to ruin games for people. So this is weird. But yeah, so the ending, it's like, the way the story goes, it's this divorced couple. They're splitting up and they turn to dolls and they have to work together even though they're breaking up. So it's like, but their relationship is very like passively, acted out. Like they're kind of like, we're getting divorced because it's just not really working out. Like there's not really a lot of like visible like anger or like betrayal. Like there's some implications that maybe something went down, but it's not really explored. Then you get towards the end and they end up and you kind of wonder, like the Book of Love's kind of trying to have them work together. And in the back of my head, I'm like, is this going to be like them getting back together? Like, is this a story they're going to tell? And then they don't. They take it in a really personal angle and say, oh, let's look at like what you used to love. You used to garden. You don't garden anymore. You don't sing anymore. And I think that was such a beautiful move. But then they got to the actual ending and it was this very vague, like, we're cool, but we're maybe still breaking up, but we're not confirming that we're breaking up, but we're not confirming that we're getting back together. And I think it was a coward's ending. I think it was like, it didn't say anything about anything.
What would you want? I feel like people would be pissed if you said, and that's why they should get back together, or that's why the entire journey of learning to recognize your partner's abilities was all for naught. Like they're screwed any way they go. So leaving it in a vague ending of like,
that's the story you wanted to tell, and then you didn't have the guts to finish it. You just put an ending on it that was vague.
People would have been furious.
Not offend anybody.
No, people would have been absolutely furious. And just like ending with a note of like, let's just support our daughter, and that's the way it walks off. And look, I'm not going to defend the story of It Takes Two, but at the same time, like people are pissed that they're telling a story about divorce, where it's like, at least let the video game industry try to tell a story about divorce in some capacity. It's not like we've beat that ground again and again and again, but then it's like, it's not dark enough of a divorce story. Like, I feel like the judgment's coming all over the place.
Kind of sociologically questionable. Like the Latin lover trope, not a fan having that book. That was a choice that
the book sucks.
I think was not an appropriate one.
The book super
focus
sucks.
tested the book.
Just one.
In this era, to have such a, and again, I don't even think that's what makes it not, super high on my list, because I can put aside the offensiveness to look at the game. But like, that also, I think that fits into the narrative being ill-constructed, in my opinion. Game's amazing. Story sucks.
This is the thing. The fact that we've spent so much time talking about the story is a tragedy, no doubt about it. No, it's definitely bringing the game.
The way you pronounce travesty is a travesty.
Thank you, Kyle. No, it's definitely bringing the game down in a significant way. I don't want to gloss past the idea that, it is obnoxious. That book super sucks, and it is throughout the game at the start and end of the levels, right? But the gameplay is so unbelievably creative. There's no other game that I played this year where every time I picked it up, I said, God, this game feels so good. And to have so much variety, constantly leaping between different mechanics, different systems, different ideas, different abilities for the two people. Oh, you get this now, I get this. It has been an unbelievable journey throughout the entire thing. And like genuinely, we streamed the whole thing, but I don't think there's been a game outside of like Mario Galaxy where I've played it and just sat back and audibly said out loud so many times, like, God, that is such a good idea. That is such a clever design thing. Look at this. I've never seen anything like this.
Where you're like, a clock is exploding.
Yes.
And you're like moving time backward and forward to jump on the cogs as they're flying through the air. Like, that's awesome.
Yes.
Like, that's freaking cool.
And that's one out of like 150 ideas in that game. They're like, this is a really cool idea. And so I understand the story is disappointing. And it definitely, zaps some of the fun out of this experience. But when the core experience of the gameplay is so good, it doesn't ding it that much for me. Like, it's the best co-op game I've ever played.
I think it's bloated.
It's like 15 hours, somewhere around there. Sure, for a platformer, maybe it's a little bit long, but I mean,
it's not even because of its genre. I don't think it had enough to. I don't think it warranted that time. It's not even that it couldn't be that long. I think for what it was doing, I don't think it needed to be that long.
Yeah.
I think it being that long
I think it was because they had that many mechanical ideas and not because they had that much of a story to tell.
100%.
Like I feel like
mechanical ideas and just made it a little bit shorter.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. But as far as like the actual fun of playing the game, I have no argument with that, and I'm glad we're talking about that. But it's the matter of the characters talk constantly, and for so long it's just stuck in that part where, you know, you work too much. Mm-hmm. She worked too much, and I don't appreciate her for that, and I stay home and take care of kid, and she don't appreciate me for that. Let's sit in that zone for 10 hours. And have every line be passive aggressive against each other. It was just silly playing that with my girlfriend where we're like coordinating on things and having a great time, and then occasionally the character would say something that would just like deflate how much fun we're having for no reason.
I do feel like it is that occasionally that's the key. It's not like there's a constant negative banter going through. Most of it is like, hey, good job, Cody. You're really doing it, Cody. Like they're learning to work together again.
If I got turned into a doll with someone that I was divorcing, I don't think I'd be pulling them down. I'd be like, we need to get out of this.
Yeah, and that's largely what the story is.
Is now the time to talk about how much I work too much? I would throttle my partner.
Yeah.
And just to offer just a counter, like I was not as bummed out by the story overall. I thought it was a nice thematic sort of adults learning to work together again sort of trial that I thought concluded well. Just to offer like a counter. Like I didn't think it sucked, but I think Janet makes a good argument for why she thinks it sucked. I believe you.
I believe you that it sucks.
And I like the game, to be clear. Like it was, I don't think it's in my final top 10 personally, but it was in my top 10 for a long time because I do acknowledge that like a lot of the stuff it does is really dope. And I think the way it plays with genre is incredibly fun. Like, I think the fighting, like when it turned into like Diablo for a second, I'm like, this is amazing. Yeah. But then it was like,
2D fighting game on top of an airplane.
That we killed the elephant. Like, it just felt a little like there were elements of it that felt like there is a great game here, but I think I struggle to deal with the fact that I think I see a better game within it if we take out the stuff that I think does not function well. And I think A Way Out, if we're comparing games, is so much of a better story. And for me, I felt like we traded good story for better mechanics. And I think in a platformer, you can get away with that. And for a lot of people, that is the case. And other people just genuinely like the story as well. Like, I do agree that there are people out there that found that to be a compelling narrative. But for those reasons, I'm not as hot on It Takes Two.
Leo, where do you think It Takes Two should go?
I'd love it at number 12.
Let's do it. Let's just do it.
Is it currently?
Let's just frickin' do it. Let's put it right down there at 12. And then... Okay. All right.
I have returned!
Janet, does that feel about right to you for It Takes Two?
I don't know. I feel like we need to parse out more of it. I don't think there's any point in getting too specific until we hear about maybe some of the other games and things. But it's close, if not right, I think. Okay.
End of spoilers.
Swap it with Guardians,
It Takes Two.
What do you think about that? I like it Guardians more.
I like It Takes Two.
Do we want to get that granular yet? Are we there yet?
I mean, we should talk about Guardians. We haven't talked about it yet. Kyle, what's your Guardians experience?
Very positive.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think I tweeted this, but it's like genuinely one of the biggest video game surprises in years.
Same
for
here.
Me.
Yep.
And that's not to say like it's one of the best games in years. It just really, I ended up getting so much more into it and involved in it than I thought I would. Because like the first half hour, you're like, they don't really feel like the Guardians that I know. It's weird. His voice sounds wrong. But like once you get past that, it's like fantastic performances, fantastic writing, great visuals, decent gameplay is kind of my big takeaway. And like really, I had moments where I was tearing up near the end. Like we don't have to go into spoiler territory, but it really, there were some moments where it got to me in an impressive way. And I was not expecting that in the slightest from this game.
Totally. And again, spoiler free, but it is one of those games where it's like, big pop culture storyline, where can they really go? But it was such a solid video game story, or just, pop culture story, a big hit film, blockbuster story, where towards the end, I genuinely had moments of like, I don't know how they're getting out of this. I am genuinely flummoxed about what these darn Guardians are going to do. And then when it all comes together, it's like, oh, of course, that's so smart. Of course. And like, how often does that happen in a video game? And like, I understand some people say we talk about Marvel too much here at MinnMax. Like, I'm not some mindless Marvel zombie. Honestly, I'm fine with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
What a zombie would say, though.
But I'm not even a big fan of the movies. I've seen them both once and thought they were fine. You know,
I've seen them all once.
You know, like I'm not like, oh, Guardians of the Galaxy, ride or die. So I went in so skeptical about this thing. And I think it is the amount of writing that is just mind-blowing, and the fact that by and large it's not obnoxious seems impossible. It is definitely less grating than the dialogue, and It Takes Two, you know, and just to have characters constantly banter throughout this entire experience, and they pull it off. Like during some combat, they have some repeating barks and stuff like that, some boss fights, but outside of like that small thing here and there, it is just mind-boggling how much dialogue's in here and how much it pulls it off. And like the idea of having a story it's a little bit of that Fast and Furious, but it's about family. You know, the story is about family, and like that's a tough concept to get across in a video game. And I feel like they did such a good job with all these small little things. Even just like on the ship, I love the stupid detail of on the spaceship, there's just a fridge, and the door is always slightly open on that fridge, and you're constantly having to go and close it. It's like that frustration of Peter Quill, like you get to feel it. It's like, well, will you guys get your stuff together here? We're working as a team, but close the fridge. Just those small little things.
It's like, what is it, like 12 hours into the game, you've closed the fridge like 50 times, and he's finally like, why aren't you guys closing the fridge? And everyone's like, I thought I was the one closing the fridge. And it's like a nice little payoff. It's just a game full of lovely character moments.
Yeah.
And like I really grew attached to the whole crew. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to give that game credit for just being the most visually pleasing AAA game that I can think of.
The art is awesome.
I feel like that level of production value, you get hyper-realistic graphics like The Last of Us, or new depths of horrifying imagery you never could have imagined, like Bloodborne or Resident Evil Village or whatever. But this having really high-quality graphics that are going for just like cool, fresh, engaging style with like really bright colors on cool alien planets, I adore it for that.
Yeah, it's so exciting to see every planet that you go to. Like the environment art is some of the coolest, most striking environment art I've seen in years in games. Yeah, you're right. The combat it's fine. It's just north of fine. It's one of those where it's like it evolves.
It's engaged.
Tries to add
it's the weakest
elemental
part of the game.
For sure.
It's like the weakest part of a very good game.
Yeah.
It's really funny to see them now, how it's all shaken out now with like It Takes Two and Guardians currently being like back to back, because I think they sort of have opposite problems, and I think both of them are too long. And again, it's not that I've played games that are long. Like I've put 40 hours and not felt like a game is too long. And I've put 4 hours and felt like the game was too long. When I say that, it's not purely the hours. It is what you were doing in those hours and what you were asking me to do. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they both have like inverted problems in my opinion. Where It Takes Two, I think the gameplay is fantastic. The story, and they do talk a lot, and it's kind of like, it's not that great.
Right.
Guardians, I think it's just so impressive. And I have not finished Guardians all the way through because I already know that I'm like, do I want to do this combat for this full amount of time? But the story is so incredible. And I am immensely impressed that they could make a game where no one shuts up, but it's good.
Right.
Like,
it's crazy.
It's so narratively difficult to construct that. And I think, yeah, like it was like, I think that one of the biggest surprises of the year, especially because the showing at E3 was one of the weakest things I'd ever seen. And I'm like, this is guaranteed to be bad. Yeah, it looked terrible. I don't know anyone that walked away and thought that looked good.
Yeah, you're right.
Like,
you're right. Except for super Marvel fans. Yeah.
And I don't think it showed what was, because I think it was so combat focused too, which the combat is not that interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, visually I think it's stunning. I think there's also a lot of like fun little details in how they have the characters interact with each other, like playing that early on, doing that battle with Rocket on who could shoot the most of like the whatevers on the planet. And I'm like, it made me so invested in that. And I think, it's just such a cool narrative. And I think it starts really with some nice walking sim moments of like looking around the room and things. And I think, yeah, it's just, it's surprising to see story done that well in a game that is not a story-based game.
Yeah. And it's very smooth gaming. I mean, it is like Uncharted as an action RPG. And it just keeps that momentum rolling. And it's like, it's never giving an opportunity to get too frustrated. It keeps the variety up. Like it feels like a similar pace to like Ratchet and Clank, where it's like, it's rare to start a game and be like, oh yeah, I'm absolutely going to finish this. Like it is rewarding my time so consistently throughout it. And yeah, it's maybe hokey or played out to have all the 70s and 80s music blasting throughout, but still it's like, in the middle of a boss fight.
That's good.
When
That's great,
No,
yeah.
I mean, like you said,
I just don't like the huddle up. The huddle up, I do
huddle
not
up gets
like.
frustrating.
It was the best thing in the game. Easily.
I couldn't. I got like secondhand embarrassment from the huddle up. I'm like, what is happening here? I don't like it.
What a
Leo,
beautiful idea
are
to
you making a
gamify
joke,
that.
Leo?
Not at all.
Because I like
that classic
I'm a
moment.
fan.
It's like in a Community. That's that episode that's like a fake clip show, and they splice between all those different Joel McHale speeches to get the group together in all these different situations. It's like that's such a trope, and to put it in a game in that way where it actually has consequences or whatever, even though it's really easy to figure out what you're supposed to say.
Right. Yeah.
But having that moment and then coming out of it with that song blaring.
Yeah,
rocks.
I liked
Build me
it.
up Buttercup off of that. Amazing feeling.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's like in the middle of a boss fight. It's like, don't worry, be happy, blasting. It's like, yeah, this does make it more fun. The huddle, like, it does get to the point eventually where it's like, this takes so long to go through. I don't even want to pop it for these benefits because we're at hour number 15 of this game, and I've had a lot of huddling in combat. Too much huddle, I think. If I was writing an IGN review, I'd put that as a minus. How much did you play, Leo?
5 hours.
Okay, nice. Jeff, did you start that because you had the PS4 copy, right? I'm curious how.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I played a couple hours of it, and I was surprised because Star-Lord is probably my least favorite character in the Marvel universe. I think I actively dislike him the most, but within those hours, he won me over. And I think it's different enough. I think the Chris Pratt version is funny, but he's just like always making very stupid, selfish decisions. And there's nothing else really beyond that has grabbed me in the past. But I played enough to get kind of into like the main story of why he's doing what he's doing. Right. And I was surprised that it was working on me. And I actually started to feel invested, and everything else that you guys have said about, the environments being pretty, like very pretty and different from everything else this year and not just grim dark, it was also very appealing to me. It's one I definitely want to go back to and play more.
Kyle, since you finished both, right? Where would you stack it against It Takes Two? Would you move Guardians of the Galaxy up here?
I would put it above It Takes Two. I mean, I would like to get it at like 9 or 8.
Wow.
Let's
we do have that space where Resident Evil Village is very high.
Certainly above It Takes Two.
I moved it up to 8, but again,
that's where I'm at. How do you feel, Hanson? Like, do you feel similarly?
I mean, based on the positivity from the group here, like we're acknowledging its faults here, but it is one of those cases of it's tough not to slide up a game that everyone's like, oh, that's a good game. That's a really good game. Which it seems like most of us are in that camp.
Well, I played more Bravely Default 2 than Guardians of the Galaxy, to be clear.
Right. That is true. So
I redact my praise that I have.
I forgot to mention, Bravely Default 2 murdered my mother. I should have brought that up earlier.
Well, you gotta move. What year is it? We gotta live in the now.
You're right. I hadn't thought of it that way. Okay, so just placeholder, but I'm glad we had that conversation to pop that one. What else?
I can't believe you brought back Bravely Default 2 just to kill it again. I feel like that's next level hater ratio. It's like, and I'm gonna make you watch. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, you're right.
Do we want to talk about Village? Because we should. Maybe I'm an exception. I actually really like where Village is. Village is like one of my favorites of the year, but I'm getting the sense that not everyone's as high on it as me.
I'd want to slide it.
Village is
my number 4.
and 3 of Resident Evil. I feel like it is good, not great.
Sorry,
but
I like it more than 7. It's like my favorite Resident Evil in a while.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I like, but I also scarier.
Like.
Yeah, I thought 7 was
I guess
scary,
but it's also a
8
factor of me liking the insane Resident Evil entries. Like I'll take a 4 over a Resident Evil 1. I want it to be crazy and weird.
No offense to liking 4, but everyone loves 4.
I guess what I mean is like, you have the bizarre merchant, you're fighting vampires in one section and werewolves, where 7 is much more grounded and scarier as a result. But I like the insane stuff. I like when Resident Evil goes too far. That's where
also 7. I have to, even though I still like 7 more than 8, but 7 is definitely way more uneven than 8. 8 is more consistently good. 7 is awesome, and then you leave the house, and then it's like, what's going on there? And we just don't talk about that part of the game. And honestly, if you're playing Resident Evil 7 and you're like, I don't know if I want to beat this, just leave the house, and then that's your ending. Because that's where it should have ended anyway. Like, just YouTube the rest on like a rainy night. But I think Village it's a great game, and I really enjoyed it. But I do feel like it is the sort of like, I don't even know what metaphor to use for this, but it's like, I feel like it's on this list, and I have it on my personal top 10 because it is technically better than a lot of the other games. But I feel so like nothing for it personally. I think it has some really cool highs, but I just think it's kind of middling while also being great, which is confusing, I think, to describe. But like, yeah, it's just like, it was good. Like, it was a good Resident Evil game, but I don't think it's like going to be a standout in the franchise overall. Despite me really liking some of those things that you mentioned, Kyle, as well. Like, I love the merchant. I love the fact that you can like gather fish and stuff to make like meals. Like, I did way too much of that. Like, I think the village was like a great hub. I think it is more even, but I feel like in its execution of having something great in that safety, I think it lost a level of greatness that it could have attained if it went for it more. And that is why I like 7 more, because it goes for it, it succeeds, and then it fails ultimately. This one felt very even, but kind of unremarkable in how even it was.
Yes, Sarah?
I have Resident Evil Village at 8 on my top 10.
Okay.
So can we just put it at 8?
Yeah, Vito.
We just wanted to match 8 and 8. That was the...
I have it at 9 on my
That's
top
where
10.
it lives.
Yeah, it's on
so
number
let's,
Village.
where is it on all of our lists? Let's just take the average of that.
This isn't a scientific form. It's not on my list.
Okay.
It's 3 for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
5.
Okay.
It will be on my list. I don't know where yet.
Yeah. Jeff, give us your read
10,
on Resident Evil Village. Where would you like to see it? 9. Okay. What's that, Janet?
Surprise.
Jeff, please. Janet, what's that now?
It's above Hitman 3, it's at 9. And Hitman 3 is at 10. That's how that math problem. If you were taking a standardized exam, it's like if it's above Hitman 3 and Hitman 3 is at 10, where is Resident Evil Village at 9?
Jeff, what do you got, dude?
Well, surprise, I have to say that I haven't finished it yet.
Dirty dog.
I know that's a shock. But yeah, it's in terms of Resident Evils, it's one of my favorite probably, just because I liked how every area was its own short, discrete thing, and then you moved on to a completely different setting, different kinds of spooks and weird things, and
yeah, it felt like an amusement park of Resident Evil or horror games. Just like, go to this arena. Now we're going to the Tomorrowland area of horror, you know?
Yeah, I felt like Disney World, but like, what if Resident Evil? Where it's like, that's where the big lady lives. That's where the scary baby is. Like,
right.
But in a way, it did make it disconnected. But in terms of playing, I enjoyed it more than the other Resident Evil games, even if it didn't really totally make sense.
Yeah.
All
right, I'm gonna move it somewhere on this list, and you all tell me how you feel about this. I'm moving it to number 6 right now.
I think that's fair.
Based on where we're at. So again, the list right now as it stands is Chicory, A Colorful Tale, Returnal, Deathloop, Before Your Eyes, Life is Strange, True Colors, Resident Evil Village, Metroid Dread, Guardians of the Galaxy, Outer Wilds, Echoes of the Eye, Hitman 3, Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker, Valheim, It Takes Two, Riders Republic, Solar Ash, Halo Infinite, Resident Evil 4 VR, Unpacking, Psychonauts 2, The Forgotten City, and also, what's this at the bottom? Number 21, Bravely Default 2. And then number 22 is patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. That's right, everybody. You can help support the show if you enjoy the show. Thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon, unlocks access to the Discord, which is really the heart of MinnMax. That's where the real discussion's happening. If you want to find a nice place to talk about the shows that we do, or to just find wonderful people to play games with. Leo Vader, can I help you?
right, my cat looks like he's got some to talk to me. Sorry.
Oh, okay. That's totally fine.
What's his top 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's he upset about?
Do you like Resident Evil Village? Do you think they're being too mean about Riders Republic?
Hey, Hey, look at this. Some of our biggest supporters.
I make some good points.
Thank you to Diverge Coffee. Brian and Nick here with Diverge Coffee. Want to sincerely thank all the MinnMaxers that have given us a shot and supported us by trying our coffee. You've made our first advertising venture such a success that we're able to continue supporting MinnMax throughout December. Whether you're buying a gift or buying for yourself, don't forget to use the code MinnMax with 2 N's at checkout to get 15% off of your order. Happy holidays from Bryant and Nick. Thank you so much, Diverge Coffee. It's fun to plug coffee on the show, so check them out. They're a small, new, upstart company, but they're on their way to becoming the next Apple. Diverge Coffee, everybody. Promo code MinnMax. Thank you again, Diverge folks. Also, thank you to the folks at Fixture Gaming. They want everybody to know about the Fixture S1, which is a clip that you put on your Nintendo Switch Pro controller. Then you put the screen on top of that, and then you can walk around and play with the best controller for your Nintendo Switch. The Fixture S1. Google it, look at a picture, and you'll say, my God, I know exactly how this works and why. You can check it out with the link below. There's a link to Amazon. It's a $35 clip that makes your Switch even better on the go, and there's also an option for a carrying case bundle in there. And thank you as always to our dear friends over at I Am 8-Bit. They of course want everybody to know about Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion, the vinyl soundtrack, which is available in their wonderful online store. It's a cool little indie game with a great soundtrack by James Currier and Ryan Barbone. It includes the digital download as well, just like all the vinyl soundtracks in their wonderful online store. So you can check that out, and you can use the promo code TurboTime. TurboTime, all one word, for 10% off everything in I Am 8-Bit's wonderful online store. So please help check out their store and support them, because they've supported us in such a huge, colossal way throughout MinnMax's whole run. They've been great partners, so show them some love and use that promo code TurboTime. All right. Well, where to now? Where should we journey to? We could go anywhere. Yeah, we could go anywhere. How is that bottom list looking? Is there anything that feels like it should be slid up? Straight up slid?
It's a leading question. Yeah. Y'all seem to like Halo Infinite, so I imagine
Solar Ash. No.
Okay.
Solar Ash.
This is just I don't know. Most of these, the bottom, I don't really know what's going on with the bottom. So
yeah, just frame of reference is Final Fantasy 14, Endwalker, Valheim, It Takes Two, Riders Republic, Solar Ash, Halo Infinite, Resident Evil 4 VR, Unpacking, Psychonauts 2, Forgotten City. That doesn't look abysmal to me.
Bravely Default 2 in there. I mean, I feel like it came back. Like if now you did just bring it back to kill it again is the thing.
I didn't.
What would you swap it for?
I could swap it for Psychonauts 2, Forgotten City, Solar Ash, or those are the first ones that come to mind. Rise Republic it's going to be on there because Leo likes it a lot, so that's fine. You can be a dinosaur in that game.
There we go.
True.
So like a lot.
If I may poke a Jenga block, I was born to poke a Jenga block. I want to poke at number 7 currently. One Metroid Dread.
Are you gonna poke it?
I'm gonna poke it so hard. You know, like when you play Jenga, really confident.
Are you poking it like? Okay.
And
dangerously.
I'm poking it with a waggle of my finger going down.
Play Jenga.
No, that's not.
Look, I've never played Jenga, but I have played Metroid Dread. We talked about it for the deepest dive. We talked about it a whole hell of a lot, and I'm just trying to get a read from the room. It's Janet, Kyle, and myself that played it. Yeah. Enjoyed it. Solid game. It's not in my top 10. Where's everybody else sitting with Metroid Dread?
It's my number 5.
Number 5.
It's my number 4. It's high for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
The chances it's a mediocre Metroidvania. I don't agree with that. I think Metroid Dread's a great game. I think there's not. Honestly, I don't have too many complaints about it, though the ending did make me want to cry, and not in an emotional way. Just in I hate myself and this game.
Oh, the boss fights.
I'm too weak.
Oh, I love that end boss.
Big bombs that I needed. I feel like if I needed those bombs, you could have gave me more of them in an easier way. Sure. I don't know. I didn't pick up any. I didn't go to the right places. But, I mean, I think it did a really good job at, introducing that sort of stealthy mechanic. I think a lot of us were worried that would be abrasive, but I think it was pretty reasonable. I think there was a lot of eerie space stuff going on. I feel like we've already discussed that it's one of the best depictions of Samus maybe ever. Yeah. And, the narrative can be a little goofy in some parts, but I like where they did take the story ultimately. I think it had some good nods to like people that have played these games forever will know exactly what's going on with these things without being so obtuse that it was, in my opinion, like too challenging to get through. Like I know a lot of people that was their first Metroid game and they were able to get through it in a relatively painless fashion.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's a really, really good game.
Yeah, and it's like, getting back into that sequelitis territory. It's awesome that 2D Metroid's back, first new 2D entry in so many years and all that fun stuff. And like it does add things, right? Like the idea of, for parts of it, it almost feels like a horror game where you're trying to run away from the Emmys. Like those Emmy zones, I think, work a lot better, than I was expecting. And the fact that it's so refreshing to clear those out. They're not that big of a game, not that big of a part of the game. And then like, it's just that scratchy, crappy, grainy film grain over those entire areas. And then when you kill that Emmy, you finally blast it in the face and it's just, and then you can just explore that in your leisure. Very satisfying feeling on top of the core of the genre, which is already the satisfying feeling of getting new equipment and saying, my God, now I know where to go. And on top of that, with this one, how they added on the map, well, they'll show you exactly where you can go now with your new abilities. And just like, show me all the doors that look like this for this new power I have. And it's like, okay, right this way. There's a lot of small things that they've added that I think are really fun.
One of the few clear parries. Like it's a parry even I can do.
Right.
There's like a big flash. Because I'm so bad at parrying and like so many games want. Parrying is like the new stealth mechanic. Like every game has parrying. I'm surprised Chicory didn't have you parrying the canvases or something. But yeah, I thought it was pretty clear and it was not 100% needed. I will say some of the bosses, I feel like you kind of need to be able to do that. But it's telegraphed pretty well. I think even in the boss construction, like there were definitely some moments of confusion, but I think overall, like the way it sort of looped you to try to figure out what to do. I think there's some really nice cinematics too, like weaved within the gameplay that made it feel really grandiose in a way that I think a game of this stature should feel.
Yeah,
I like it where it is. It's my favorite Metroid, like period. Like even over Super Metroid. And with that, which I don't have as much nostalgia as someone like Jeffem does for that game,
right?
For example, but. So I really like it.
You like it more than Guardians of the Galaxy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like it one more than Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. It's that...
And one less than Resident Evil Village.
Looking at that Guardians of the Galaxy, is that a good spot for it? Like, I love that game, and I just felt like it was the biggest explosion of positivity we've had as a group so far on the podcast. Right?
I just wanted on record that I was not a part of that.
That's true. You actually zipped your mouth shut.
We all
like
agree the combat is not very good in that game.
Yep, that is true.
It is serviceable combat.
Yep, yeah, that's true.
No, I like Metroid above Guardians, and I like them both. I mean, it's that weird asterisk where, like, it's funny, like it starts to feel like we don't like some of these games.
Yeah.
These are our favorite games of the year,
This is still like the top 10, like the top 20. Yeah. So
20?
I'm not familiar. You mean 2 tens?
I'm not familiar with that number.
Even though it's on the screen.
How do we I did not play this. This is not me saying we should push it down, but I would like to hear some Life is Strange conversation.
Kyle, how dare you attack Life is Strange True Colors?
Yeah, it's dope.
Yeah, so hang on.
Take it away, Hanson.
You got it. No problem. Okay, so it's what, Sarah, Janet, and I that played Life is Strange True Colors? Is that right? Yes, it is the best Life is Strange game. I feel like you probably got a pretty good idea of what this game is like. Some good characters, good moments. It's one that the emotions really snuck up on me. We talked about it on the podcast, but like by the end of the first episode, I was like, oh, I care so much more than I expected. I'm not streaming it like Sarah and cackling like a maniac every time something horrible happens.
I just think it was a little heavy-handed in some areas.
I completely agree.
For a game about emotions,
yes,
I didn't feel like we actually got to explore many emotions. I feel like it was always on like the most extreme part of the spectrum of emotions.
Yeah.
And I also don't feel like I got to see the character development that I was expecting from a narrative game.
I think I'm with you.
So those are my criticisms. It's not in my top 10.
Same here.
But I respect it because I know other people like it. But personally, it just kept hitting me with all these crazy twists and turns. And like, you think, what else could they do? They already, did all that. And then they're like, actually, we will make this woman's life worse because we can.
Yeah,
again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah, we talked about it for, best moments, best character and stuff weeks ago, but like Alex Chen and like the story that you learn about her and exploring her background a little bit, I think is the high point of the game. And then the larger main story where that ends up is pretty dopey, and it is one of those things of like, what? You're really going here for this game?
Well, it does make sense if you, and I hate to view this guy because I'm not this guy. So
you're becoming that guy.
100% it. If you do 100%, it does make sense. But I think there was a design flaw in one of the things that you can look at that helps make it where it goes a little bit less
I know what you're talking
or
about.
like, why do they get here? Is like missable, which I think is a huge flaw.
Yeah.
Like I think them making that a missable thing, which I did indeed miss. I was like, wow, they really just.
I think it's more so
back after the rolling credits, but
that is an important thing for sure. And reminder, check out the Max Spoilers that Janet did with a big, wonderful group over there on our channel for Life is Strange True Colors.
What was that, like 2 or 3 hours? Right?
That was 4 hours.
It was absurd. Yeah. It was absurd. It was longer than the game. But yeah, I think less about like things that you can like miss, and more just about characters taking some big swings on the D&D spectrum of alignment, where it's like, okay, I understand people are bad or people are good, but like,
I didn't know what to walk away with. Like, I didn't know what lesson, what moral, what I was supposed to walk away with from that game. When it ended, I was like, so that's good? Alex is happy? And I'm like, but what did we learn?
That, life is strange.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Does it slide down a little bit? Not swap with anything, but
I think it slides down. Janet,
no. I disagree heavily.
So? Strong disagree?
I think it should go up. I think it should move up.
Oh, absolutely not.
And again, we'll see. I don't know. Well, can it move up? I guess it probably won't, to be honest. But in my list, it's higher. It is number 2 on my list of games of the year. I think to say it is the best Life is Strange game, but I think when that statement is made, because Life is Strange is it's such a long-running franchise and such a hokey teen drama franchise, I think a lot of people might see that as the best Life is Strange. Is still kind of a basic game. I think this one is far and above better than anything that's come in the franchise before. Yeah. I think as far as emotions, I do think Sarah brings up a good point of it is very extreme, because Life is Strange is the drama. It is like the whole point of that's also part of like what makes that franchise compelling, at least if that's your kind of thing, where it is supposed to be, the theme is Life is Strange and crazy stuff can happen. It's kind of playing with like the truth is stranger than fiction, even though it is fiction. But, I think it's kind of giving a nod to that. But I think to the credit of like lighter or smaller emotions, I think in your interactions with the NPCs is where you get that. And I can understand wanting that more from Alex, because I think that could have been valuable. But for me, getting to know that town was just such a fantastic experience. And even like really small stuff where you can kind of scan the area and sort of hear people's like thoughts and emotions, like as you're like walking through the town. And there were like NPCs where I'd listen to full on conversations of, there's this guy yelling with his wife because they're struggling with the new ice cream parlor and they're hoping that like this is going to happen, or like the couple where they're best friends and they both like each other, but they're not together yet. And you're like, oh, I wish I could do something, but like maybe not now. And you're kind of going through. And then what I think is so brilliant about the construction of that game is it does such a good job making these small slice of life stuff just fun as being slice of life things, but then giving them significance as you go on later in the story, when you realize, oh, me helping this person, in the flower shop is going to actually come back in a big way that I don't know the first time I'm playing it. But if I'm playing it genuinely as Alex trying to, help and be a good person, like I sort of maybe get a little bit rewarded for that, or that can come back positively. And if I don't, that also can have negative repercussions. I thought that was super smart. And I think what really makes this stand out is how the gameplay elements that drove the story forward were also intriguing to do. Like the jukebox puzzle in the bar was fun. The RPG style LARP, like it did such a good job shining in ways that many people criticize narrative games as not having enough of, which is gameplay. Like the moment to moment gameplay stuff was fun to do as like little mini games, but also drove the story forward. And I think it's such a smart and brilliant progression of the franchise because it does a good job honoring the hallmarks of its predecessors while also doing it better. So like the stakes are increased. When it went supernatural, it did that so much better in higher fidelity and in more layered ways and in more like twisty ways than it has before. Especially when you think back to Life is Strange 1, where like the supernatural thing was you like walking in a void. Like it's like what happened to all the assets?
Right.
Here it's like so lived in and incredible. And I think the climax of it works so well. I think it is one of the best choice driven games I have ever played in my entire life.
Yeah. That's the sound of her ripping up her script. No, what is that? Oh, that's Sarah's Endwalker notes, everybody.
And that's why it's my number 2 of the year.
Number 2.
Find out later what my number 1 game is, even though I've said it like 12 times in the series of these episodes.
That's good to know. I am looking at Life is Strange, trying to take it all into consideration. And this is that tough debate that this, I feel like 2 Tens always comes down to, right? Is like personal passion versus games that a lot of people liked. Like, should Life is Strange be above Resident Evil Village when Resident Evil Village everybody likes, but no one.
From what I've heard, I like Life is Strange where it is.
Yeah.
At 5 and Village at 6, and I loved Village, but it's like a game I have so many problems with. There are a lot of high points, and overall the pacing is so great. But as a complete package, I don't fight for Village being any higher than it is, really.
Okay. Yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy. I keep looking at and thinking about that reaction, wanting to slide up. So number 4 is Before Your Eyes.
Who played Before Your Eyes? I played it. You played it. Janet, did you? Janet played it. Okay.
Leo, did you?
An hour.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
I like.
Leo, did you actively dislike it, or it was mostly tech problems that were holding you back?
Well, it's interesting. We'd have to put spoiler walls up again real quick.
Do you want? Is there any way around it?
Ding, ding, ding.
All right.
No.
All right. Ding, ding, ding. Spoiler walls for Before Your Eyes. Spoiler walls for Before Your Eyes. Check out the time codes below. All right.
I not only had a weird tech problem where it was like blinking when I wasn't, or I just don't have enough nerve endings in my eyelids and was accidentally blinking.
Yeah.
But besides that, I also thought the writing was really not interesting, and I really didn't care about any of the characters or where it was going. And what our talk about that previously was like, oh, it's a made up story anyway. And so I probably would have found that retroactively more interesting if I had powered through.
Yes.
So that's what I'm seeing in hindsight about that game.
100%. I was absolutely with you.
Hindsight?
Yes, I think that's a really important detail. Like if you stop halfway through, it's just like, this is so hokey. Like, what is this? Becoming a celebrity artist? I don't know what this is, but once you understand where it's coming from a little bit more, I think it totally.
What's funny is I was still in on it even when it was that.
Oh,
I was
really?
like, this is. Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to get up and leave when they were like, you've been a terminally ill child all along. That's where I wanted to tap out.
Right.
Because I was like, I have like a threshold with how far you can push me emotionally. Mm-hmm. And if you go above to a terminally ill child, which I think is number 1 saddest thing in the world, I think we can all agree on.
Yeah.
I'm out.
I hear that. I still think the way it's presented is a novel aspect. It's not just leaning into what is the saddest story we can tell. Let's try and tell that in a little
But they kind of did tell it.
Yeah, but I'm saying I think the mechanic, which is the core of the entire game of using your eyes and blinking, is such a novel way to express that story, and the idea of literally making it flashing through your life. Like, it's one of the most beautiful implementations of interactivity I've genuinely ever seen in my life. The idea of looking at your life and every time you blink, it jumps forward in time. You know, you could be listening to your mom and dad arguing in the next room. You could be having a nice moment with a friend, and then blink of an eye, it's moving on, and then eventually you're dead. I think it's incredibly beautiful. Like, genuinely, it's like, well, what are we doing with video games if not celebrating how to use this medium to express life and what we're all experiencing in the most beautiful way? I think it's incredible.
Ray Loaz has a good point that I was wincing at the writing. And
I thought that was funny too. Brian in the live chat was like, did people not see the twist coming? Do you just go into every game? You're like, we definitely gonna be dead at the end. Like, I don't know. Well, you already knew you were dead. That's the thing.
Right.
When they said that you had to tell a story and that it had to be good, or else you wouldn't, get to go to the afterlife, I was like, and then it was a really good story. Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like you can die with regrets and not be a terminally ill child.
Yeah, we all will. No one's arguing that, Sarah. I mean, what do you think, Sarah?
Going to some heavier places than we needed it to go.
Where would you like this to be, Sarah?
I don't know. You're going to put it at number 1. Wherever you want to put it.
1.
But while I really liked the mechanic of the blinking, I do feel like the story itself could have used some work. I don't know. The blinking was good, but I didn't really have an issue with blinking too early or blinking on accident, so it really just didn't become a mechanic for me unless I was trying to progress the story, and then I'm sitting there like, let's go.
Right.
Let's go. And blink.
Can we dodge all spoilers?
You guys sold it to me being a high spot last time. I think it was the last episode, during the spoiler section. After you guys explained sort of the full thing, it was very much like, this needs to be high, and I haven't even played it, so.
I feel strongly it needs to be high. So it's sitting at 4 right now. I would love to see it go higher, but I think it's getting into some pretty stiff competition. By the way, spoilers over for Before Your Eyes.
Yeah,
yes?
I was about to say.
Okay.
We just here.
I
think 4 makes sense. I have it at 4 on my personal list.
Right.
I have Chicory and Life is Strange above it. But I think it's awesome. And I think I like the 4 slot for it.
Yeah.
Here's
I don't know, just a palate cleanser. Does Halo Infinite slide up to above It Takes Two?
Not for me, it don't.
Y'all would know.
Not for me.
Not for you? Okay. Here's where it is.
Kyle, Halo Infinite versus Solar Ash.
What? I'm sorry, what was that?
Halo Infinite above Solar Ash?
Solar Ash above Halo Infinite.
Jeffem, are you really going to stand for that?
Solar Ash above Deathloop, if we're getting...
All right. We have gone for quite a ways without talking about the big Papa Deathloopy. I went back and checked 11 hours into Deathloop. Janet, you finished it and loved it. Kyle, you finished it and loved it. Right?
I would put it below Guardians, personally.
Okay.
Really liked it, beat it. But I liked all those other games more.
Let's try and get a read, though. Everybody started it at least?
I finished it.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay.
Oh, right. Yeah, Leo loved it. Yeah.
Sarah,
I think you, Leo and Janet are above me. I think maybe I'm the person who finished it, who liked it, who thought it was good.
Yeah. I think probably Sarah and Jeff and I are all in the same camp of didn't finish it, think it's a cool game, but not passionate about it, if I may.
I got 13 hours in it, and I just kind of fell off. I fell out of the loop, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, who wants this to be that high on this list? Because it's pretty damn high.
It's my number 1. It's the game of the year.
Okay.
I'd put it at 1, honestly.
At number 1 on this list.
Yeah. But I'm not good enough to play Returnal, so.
Yeah, Leo, where would you put Deathloop on this list?
I love it at number 3.
Yeah.
Or 2.
It is such a cool, unique thing. Even going back to it again and again throughout the year, convincing myself, I'm going to finish this. I'm going to finish this. Just the tone that it sets. I forget how good the music it is. You just hear that music and you are locked into that zone of Deathloop over and over again. Yeah. It's very cool. And
I think hits.
If it is a puzzle of a game, right? They describe it as a murder puzzle, which is a very interesting way of describing the game. And it's so uniquely constructed. I just didn't find the puzzle that compelling on a story level or gameplay level. And it's, I'm not a big Arcane guy. Respect them. Respect the hell out of them. Love them. But I've never been really grabbed. And this one, even though I felt like they were just doing everything they could to get me into this system and to loop me in and make me appreciate what's beautiful about their games, probably to the point that it's in full-on baby mode for immersive sim fans, it still did not really click with me to the point of, I gotta go find all these notes and really figure out what's going on here and use these systems in different ways. It didn't seem that enthralling to me personally.
It was the first Arcane one that grabbed me since Dishonored 1. Like, I loved and appreciated the other ones, but never enough to see them through. But this one I had no problem playing through to completion. And I think it has gotten a lot of criticism this year as an immersive sim and as kind of holding your hand through stuff. But all my favorite moments were like exploring regions when I didn't have anything to do there and just seeing what's different about being here at this time and finding all this unique stuff. And the way of surfacing it, notes being so short and then you getting a sum up right away with that little pop-up, and then at the end it lists out, here's actual information about what's happening in a way where you will actually read it and internalize it instead of ignore it like I have in every piece of paper I picked up in a video game in the past 20 years. I want every game to do it exactly like that. That was like a massive step forward for successful world building in a video game, and so much interesting stuff came out of that.
Totally. Yeah, if the thrill is solving the puzzle, and without spoilers, it seems like once you solve the story puzzle, a lot of people are like, not so much.
See, I don't personally think, I think the thrill of Deathloop is going to vary based on what kind of player is approaching it. Like, for me, I didn't care about finding out I was interested. Like, I was like, oh, I wonder where this plot's going to go. But I wasn't like, banging my head against the wall trying to figure out what's happening. I was just playing the game and enjoying it for the puzzle of how do I accomplish this specific task, and also how do I like deal with Juliana as she pops up, whether she's an NPC or an actual player, and trying to think about how to strategize that. So for me, the fun was in the gameplay. Like, I enjoyed the world that was constructed, and I think the characters were really well written, like each visionary having like a distinct and wonky and silly personality, and sort of speaking to like that era of like, oh, this person's like, just gonna be preaching over here, and you can like murder them if they don't turn on like this, pit of gas while you're there. This person's an artist and they're like incredibly powerful for some reason, and you have to like puzzle solve turning off this explosive device, and the little details of like the text that appears in the sky throughout, very Edith Finch in that way, which I thought was fun. It having little stuff like being able to kick the candy machine and the candy falls out and then people can slip on the candy. It was just a joy to play. And what I love about this game is every time I see someone playing it, they're playing it totally different than how I played it. They're finding places and entryways that I didn't. And to me, that's really where the game shines. So yeah, I wasn't personally reading all the notes and trying to like solve that mystery. Like, the puzzle was, how do I get this task done in the way that I want to get it done with the tools that I feel like using.
Yeah, how do you have the perfect day? Which was like a really fun thing to find.
And who doesn't want the perfect day? Like, oh, it's so good.
And I think gameplay wise, like the way it handled loot, I really loved, as far as colored loot being so over prevalent and too much of a focus in so many games. Deathloop, it felt like once in a while, I had nothing else to do in the afternoon, so I'm like, oh, I'll go grind out, do another Charlie takedown so I can get another mod for my blink ability and or shift, and I can keep like building my skills like that because I have a little bit of downtime. But you can also just skip that time till you have something to do again, and it's so optional and so rewarding, and there's not too much of it where you feel like you're missing out by not engaging with it, or you have to super engage with it to get anything out of it. I really loved building my own specific loadout, and I agree, it really felt like different than what anybody else would have. Yeah. So it hit gameplay wise for me really hard. And like, the story, the writing I liked a lot. The story definitely left off in a ambiguous place that could be frustrating. It was a little frustrating for me as far as the big build up to it and then not really getting some big revelation or whatever. Right. Yeah. But it was still a cool ending, and I still really loved every line really getting there. Too.
The kick is good.
The kick is good. I feel like it would have been an easy pick for best thing. In fact, too easy.
Yeah, you're
and that's
right.
The only reason I didn't bring it up.
When there's like 31 Gs, like it's just a fun game. Like it's just really fun. It's fun as hell.
So yeah, disappointing story but wonderful gameplay. So we should move it right below It Takes Two.
I would say disappointing plot, which is like a small distinction. But I think like where it goes is just not that interesting. But I think the overall journey there was cool. But then it like ended in a way. But to its credit, I don't know what it could have done that would have made me not feel like the ending was kind of whack. But I'm like, this wasn't a great way to end. But that's fine.
And so packed full of secrets, so interesting reading about that game, having finished it, and about all the little secret encounters you can have.
Mm-hmm.
that I never knew about, but that make that world feel so lived in, such a cool way to do it, having different
drunk in the game all the time. Like I have nothing but good things to say about Deathloop. My only criticism is the very, very ending being like, but that's it.
Yeah.
Music's great, the world's great. Like in the area where you can't have your slabs, but then I realized you can just go in a way where you can still have your slab, or you can hack something. But I didn't do that. I just did that without my slabs, and so many fun stories from that time. But anyway, this is a lot of talk for knowing that's not going to move. I feel like that's already been decided, but I would like it to go higher if it could.
The only way I think it's moving, and correct me if I'm wrong, everybody else, is if Returnal slides around a little bit. And Returnal, I feel like, is the biggest anomaly here for a real year of having a sole champion. I feel like Returnal is the game that Kyle's championing, and it's been skating by at number 2 here without much friction. Yeah. Let's set the scene. Has anybody else other than Kyle and I played Returnal?
Only a little bit.
Only a little
2
bit.
hours.
Okay.
Determining it's too hard.
Yeah, I played 8 hours. And it definitely kicked my ass, and that's the reason I didn't play more primarily. But I'm also really bad at games, and so I don't want to use that as a barometer, but just for where we're at. And Kyle, you beat the game, right, Kyle?
Yeah, I beat it, got the proper good ending.
Ooh.
Just kept going, would not stop playing. I've spoken in the past about how this is typically not a genre that I like.
Yeah.
But this year, I've kind of crossed a sort of a line and gotten into them, and I just adored it. And it is challenging. It is definitely challenging, and that's a reason that it's a totally valid reason to not engage with it and not want to play it. But thematically, how that drives the story of it being so challenging is awesome. The gameplay is just fantastic. It's so smooth. That studio is known for making just games that feel great and play great.
Absolutely.
And for them to take this big leap for this studio to kind of take their sort of arcade expertise and put it into this narrative game just worked so well. It's when I was playing it, I actually thought of Metroid a lot, in the sense that it was this is modern Metroid. The way you unlock abilities and the reward you get from it. This is giving me the feelings I got from the first time I played a Metroid game. And then the world is just so strange and interesting, and the design is so cool. And it all culminates in this amazing way. It's just fantastic. It's beautiful.
Do you think it does anything especially new or interesting or compelling as a roguelike? Speaking as somebody who doesn't always love that genre, was there a reason the rogue nature of it worked for you more than others?
That's a good question. It's the narrative was certainly driving me. I wanted to see what was going on. And then the way the upgrades work, I thought were really compelling. Even just a simple thing of you can always pick up health items, and if you have full health, it actually makes your health grow larger. So there's always incentive to pick up the health pickups. And then the way the weapons work is it really works in the sense of there are more powerful weapons that you can pick up, but if you really like a weapon, you can stick with it and you'll still be successful. I actually found more success sticking with weapons I liked, as opposed to just getting the stronger weapon. And I think that's rewarding in a unique way for just letting you really learn a weapon and really appreciate it. And the enemies are really cool, learning how to, and just dodging is really fun. And the way you move so fast. I love a game where you can move really fast.
Yeah.
And then you get a grappling hook at a certain point, and it changes the whole structure of how you move through everything and the shortcuts you can take. It's also a game that doesn't really feel like you're punished for having to start over. Because once you make progress, the progress feels really significant, and it allows you to bypass huge portions of the game if you want. And it also doesn't punish you for trying to jump ahead, because you can still get good weapons and stuff like that, even if you want to skip to level 3 or whatever, which is why I think it functioned better for me as a roguelike than most roguelikes, is I felt like I was gaining things.
Yeah,
more so. I mean, obviously, roguelikes like let you gain things. That's not unique to Returnal, but it was really clicking with me, and it worked better than most.
Yeah, I think I wanted more from that on ramp, and it's not just let me hang on to things more, but I think just the way it presents the systems of, I think Hades is kind of the master class for here's what you can hang on to and build up run to run, whereas Returnal is a lot of like, what is it? I guess weapon proficiency, and then ether can unlock something. It did not feel like a clean hook for building and building.
Was the same. It's the same ramp for me for any roguelike of learning what currencies you can keep and what you can't and what goes with what. And I had the same thing with Hades.
Yeah.
I liked Returnal more than Hades, personally.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, did you want to throw up a spoiler gate to talk about something?
I did want to share one very cool moment that I didn't share last time. So if you want to throw up a spoiler
It's up, dude.
Okay, so playing Returnal, very challenging. You make your way through, there's 3 bosses, right? And that third boss is really epic and huge and just like much larger than any other boss. And it's a challenge. And when you beat it, it's so cathartic and exciting. And you get this cutscene where Celine, because she was able to defeat this enemy, she was able to make the call to get rescued. And she gets rescued. And what happens is you see her life play out. She goes home. She goes back to Earth. She lives her life. She has this bizarre experience where she got stuck on this alien planet. She buys a house. She grows up. She gets older. And she passes away from old age. And then when that happens, you learn that you never left the loop. You die as an old woman on Earth, and you end up back on the planet again. And you have to and you are in the loop again. But because of that time that has passed where you did age into an old woman, the world reflects that. So you're playing level 1 over again.
Yeah.
But it's aged 60 years or whatever.
So just the overgrowth is different and stuff?
Level and the third level. And there's a whole new set of bosses. So what it does is it really feels like you beat the game. It rewards you in a huge way with this epic boss and this amazing cutscene that shows that she lived a happy life. And then you realize you're only halfway through the game. And it's just I love it. I love the idea that she thought she was out of the loop because she escaped the planet and she was rescued. But when she dies from old age, she learns she's right back into the loop. And she never got past that trauma that I discussed last time of losing her child in that car accident.
Yeah.
It's still, even into her old age, it's still she can't get past it. And then you get to play basic, like I said, it's similar, right? It's you're playing similar levels. But they've all they're changed and they're different, even visually. And you actually can't even go back to the original levels until you beat the game, which is kind of interesting. But
how does it change visually? Is it just more overgrowth and stuff, or changing layouts?
Yeah, more overgrowth and there's this dilapidated sort of city, and the robots are more sort of deconstructed, and then you make your way underwater at that point. It's in that second half of the game where you jump into this lake that just sends you it feels like you're falling for a mile underwater.
That's cool.
It's so good. And like I said, the thing that really clicks it all together for me is just how it all thematically ties together. It's not that it's just a hard game that's this is I'm enjoying the challenge of beating these difficult levels and that's a fun bragging point. It's it has to do with what Celine is experiencing. She's having a hard life, and that's thematically tied to breaking through all these barriers and defeating these levels. And I love it. And it's really it's not an American game. It's not an American studio. And I love that it's kind of a downer the whole time for that reason.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of a dark subject matter.
Yeah.
So it just everything works about it. You can even just look at it as a fun arcade shooter and it works. It's this cool 3D bullet hell game, but then everything sort of surrounding it just makes it so much more interesting and better. So good.
On a lighter note, are you playing with something with your hands, Kyle? Is there something making noise?
Am I? Is that coming through?
Oh, very much so. I was is someone typing?
I thought you were typing on a keyboard.
I know. I was so confused.
Is that a fidget?
I'm trying to find a fidget toy that doesn't make noise. That's what I'm working on.
Okay, I'm sad I don't have mine by me because literally, Kyle, I have the same block somewhere. I just don't think it's at my desk anymore. So now I have this little plush cat that I got from going to mini golf. That's one of my jams.
I got a real
again, we're the
spinner.
same person, but except you can play Returnal and I can't.
I have a Pokeball.
Yeah.
I have this DaVinci Resolve interface where you can spin the screen.
Oh, that's really good. I got a squeezy ball that I play with all the time. I got a bunch of coins, but I drop them. Spoilers over for Returnal, by the way.
Yeah, now we're just talking about.
And also, there is also just a plug. We did do MinnMax Spoilers
That's
on
right.
Returnal as well with
Jacob Geller and
so
Grant.
You can check that out too.
Yeah.
But really, really lovely game. Really took me like remember I asked you early on, I was like, Hanson, do you think I'll like this? And you're like, I don't think so.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And I got it anyway. And I'm so glad I did. It's like it's that rare experience when you're like, I'm gonna try something new, and it just clicked for me in the biggest way.
Yeah.
That made me want to play it.
People in the chat watching us live agree. Here's the hang up that we've talked about before. Kyle's a champion for Returnal. I think championing something and putting it as your number one, if you're the sole person, I think boosts things a fair amount. There's other games like Janet, you're the biggest champion for Life is Strange True Colors. That's up there. It's tough to gauge that against the games that a lot of people think are really good games. Like for me, let me know if I'm insane. I feel like an outlier here is Valheim, which is also my number one, a game that I really loved. And that, Sarah, how would you define your appreciation of Valheim?
It was good, but I wouldn't put it over Endwalker or Echoes of the Eye.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I will not be your crutch for this.
You're supposed to.
It's gonna go down. We're all gonna go down.
You're supposed to be my buddy for this, Sarah. Because it's a game that I love a lot, and then you enjoyed, and and doesn't that boost it a little more than just Endwalker, which only you enjoyed, but not your number one? But Valheim is my number one.
I don't know. I think it's more of that.
Returnal would be way lower. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
I think it's the number on the list is an interesting factor to have doing the total math or whatever, which isn't how we decide these. But I think it's got to all be about the arguments. Like you could have say this is my number one, but you just didn't like games as much this year as somebody else. You know,
right?
Like if you just didn't play the same things and that felt more impactful to them.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
I played a little bit of Valheim. And I didn't continue, but it's not my genre, so that's why I haven't really made a big commentary on it. Like, it's not my style of game. I played it because everyone's like, "This is hot in the streets," and when the streets talk, I listen. But I didn't continue.
Yeah, I had the same experience.
Yeah, I remember we did New Show Plus, an early one where we played it a little bit, and it was one of those like, God, I wish your circle of friends got into Valheim, Leo, because I feel like it could click with you, and you could have a great time with it. Could you just yell at your friends for me?
No.
Do you think that you couldn't get into it?
Sign up for this job, like I did. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a multiplayer person, so again, I don't have a big interesting take on this. But I am not particularly personally interested in games where I need like that friend group to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, then I'm just not gonna do, because I'm like, I schedule so much stuff in my life. I don't want to schedule. And then if I want to hang out with you, we can just do a million other things. Yeah. Like why am I building this fake house to fight a deer god? I mean, it's kind of cool, but like
kind of cool to fight a deer god.
Let's not dump on building fake houses with your friends. Too quick.
Leah, did anything turn you off from Valheim, Leo? With your time with it?
I mean, nothing that was surprising. Just not a Leo type of game. Not into the boss battles. Not into the early survival gameplay. I feel like I've done that loop a lot of times. Right. And I wasn't sure what was different about it in Valheim besides just your leveling up every different thing you're doing, which makes it feel a little better. But still, I just feel like I've done that. Cut down trees. Mine ore, turn ore to ingots a lot of times.
Yep. No doubt about it. Okay. All right. So
please don't come at me for not liking mining. No mining something out there.
I know how strongly you feel about it, Hanson. Like I to slide it up I certainly wouldn't find offensive. I mean, I don't know if you have a grand speech prepared, but I know that when it was first out, like you wouldn't shut up about it.
It is true. The thing that's holding me back, and fans of Bravely Default, listen up. It is a game that I had the best time playing this year, and we still haven't gotten through all the bosses. You know, like we really trailed off and have not finished the early access build, so to speak, which stings it a little bit in my mind. You know, I put a lot of hours into it, but it wasn't an Endwalker situation for hours.
What do you bring down for Valheim?
I'd love to put it as like number 9. Look, honestly, I could just live if it just swapped with Endwalker.
Sarah's 2 games.
I mean, there's something to be said about having such artisanal taste in games, okay?
Right. And what is it?
I don't know if Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker is it off the beaten path as it may seem.
Apparently it is.
I mean, if we're counting like,
they had to stop selling it because so many people were trying to play it, but
but nobody here, of course.
I will say it is one of those games. It's a classic problem of like it's immensely popular, but not in our field.
Right.
Like no one's talking about FIFA 22, even though it's like that's sold like crazy. But like if I ever, FIFA would have to transcend the earth for me to even put it on any of these kind of lists, like, ever.
Yeah. You'd have to go to a moon and fight a god in FIFA for us to take note of it.
I mean, if you do the math, though, for like percentage of time played being miserable, like Endwalker is really dragged down. Because if you're just looking at that screen for your total hours played,
you have to stare at it.
You have to. Yeah, if you factor in the queue times.
I'm gonna bring up the fact that Valheim was so buggy, I could barely play it.
Yeah, at least you could play it.
If we're gonna rip each other down here?
Pokemon Go was like the hottest thing since sliced bread, and that was also horrible at launch.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad games out there. No one's arguing that. No, I respect Final Fantasy XIV, everybody. Just to be clear, everybody, please.
That's not what I'm hearing.
No,
you're gonna have to go into the Final Fantasy XIV Discord that you have and apologize.
I totally understand why you want to move Valheim up, but it's like, what do you really at this point? There's so much good above it.
Outer Wilds is your number one, Sarah?
Yep.
Well, that's ironclad.
I mean, you can move it because it's kind of hard to argue against 5 people who have never played a game about why a game is good, especially a game like Outer Wilds.
I have played Outer Wilds.
It's not like Outer Wilds. It's different from Outer Wilds.
It's a little
I
like
like Echoes of the Eye more than I liked Outer Wilds, the original game.
Is it a time loop game where you're flying a ship around a galaxy?
It's not. It's a time loop game where you're going to a spaceship, specifically exploring a new world that has 2 sides to it, light and dark, specifically using new mechanics, a new story, a new alien race. Like, that's why it's like not DLC to me. Yeah. It's more of like a prequel to the game because it really goes into like, but what happened before? Mm-hmm. You know, everything else happened in Outer Wilds. And because it's more of a show, don't tell game, I think that's the hardest thing to do is to lead your player to something without telling them. Mm-hmm. And I absolutely love getting through a game on my own curiosity alone, putting the pieces together myself. There is no items. There is no leveling up. All you have is like your knowledge and what you've explored. And the way it fosters that with this beautiful story, it's the only horror game I've ever played where the theme of fear is actually well woven into the story and not just like you're scared because we want to scare you.
Yeah.
You know? And it was just it's a beautiful story. It'll stick with me forever. Like, obviously the spoiler walls are not up.
Not up.
But I just think for me, it's definitely one of my top games of all time.
Wow. Jesus.
I mean, it's beautifully made. It's, you know, it's just great. It's just a great game.
Yep.
You're making me want to play it.
Hitman 3, however.
Are you just looking for something to get Valheim up
He's
there?
really just poking. He's poking the Jenga tower.
What are we doing? It's not
trying
poking.
to see what's weak.
Yeah, this is what we do.
I'll be honest. There's just for me, I don't have everyone else. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything you can say that would put Valheim higher than it currently is. Mm-hmm. Yep. Because I feel like a lot, and you've admitted this, which is it's not the worst thing in the world, but a lot of your stuff is like, it was fun, and like fun does count for a lot. Right. Fun is not as common as one would think, given the medium. Like, I think that is meaningful, but I think you have. Well, speak now, I guess, but I feel like you've exhausted your argument for it.
Yep, you're right.
And that argument got you 12, which is already. It's pretty high.
I mean, we can move it anywhere that we want. Yeah, I mean, outside of fun, we talked about it so much.
21 and swap it with Bravely Default 2 if we're just moving.
Over my dead body. No, just the idea of fun. We talked about it last week, but it is.
Bravely Default 2 is better than Valheim. Like,
there's no universe where that's true.
Well, just because you like your vlogs. Like, come on.
Wait, you said because of vlogs? That's your argument? Look,
that's your argument for why you're like, it was fun. We like built a bridge together.
Yeah, I got to explore a world with my friends and to have a real sense of adventure and exploration and not knowing what's around every corner and there's crazy monsters jumping out to destroy your tents.
Real because they were little chibi-like characters doesn't mean it was any less meaningful.
I really feel like it does.
It might be a little less meaningful.
I gotta go hard against Bravely Default 2.
Like, who's to say? Who's to say?
Yeah. Hanson, my number one's beneath yours. You don't see me making a stink about it.
I know. Look, and to be fair, I'm not making a big stink. I'm just poking, and I'm
from here.
I'm poking Hitman 3 just to see if we're feeling good about where it's at as a group here.
I would hate to see it leave the top 10, but I would live with that.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, who else was hot on Hitman 3?
I was.
Relatively.
I liked it, but I'm not like hot on it.
And Janet,
because and the only reason I'm bringing it up is it seems like it's Leo's game, but also Leo loves Riders Republic so much. I don't know how that's sitting with Leo personally. Do you want to switch those two, Leo?
If that's an option, I would. But, in another sense, I care too much about this outlet and its integrity to push too hard for the Riders Republic to be in the top 10.
Interesting.
Crazy. It is just the Google Doc that is open on the screen.
For what it's worth, I'd be okay with that swap because I like the first. But I've only played the first level of Hitman 3, and I was like, it didn't grab me. But
would that be okay, Hanson, if we switch Riders Republic and Hitman 3 and found where it is?
I lean on Janet and Sarah both enjoying Hitman 3, though. That adds some juice here.
I vote no. I mean, I think Hitman 3 is a better game than Riders Republic.
Hell yeah, it is.
So...
unnecessary.
I mean, at the end of the day, like, it ain't that deep. These are just numbers on a page based on things that were never real.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, I'm not married to either one, but if you guys ask for my opinion on it, Hitman 3 stays where it is. Riders Republic stays where it is.
I have no problem with that.
Did we exhaust the Halo Infinite placement? Are we still feeling good overall?
Happy with Halo there. I like seeing Halo's kind of like I love it on the 2 tens. Is kind of where I'm at. Like I think it belongs there. I don't think it needs to be particularly high. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
good game.
I mean, it would be much higher for me, but I'm not going to push it.
Sure.
I'm also fine with it just being on the list at this point. I haven't finished it yet. And it seems like anyone else if everyone else who would fight for it is cool with it being there, then I'm just gonna be cool too.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
For the audio listeners, the 2 tens right now, counting down from 1 is Chicory, Colorful Tale, Returnal, Deathloop, Before Your Eyes, Life is Strange True Colors, Resident Evil Village, Metroid Dread, Guardians of the Galaxy, Outer Wilds, Echoes of the Eye, Hitman 3, Final Fantasy 14, Endwalker, Valheim, It Takes Two, Riders Republic, Solar Ash, Halo Infinite, Resident Evil 4 VR, Unpacking, Psychonauts 2, The Forgotten City, Clunk Clunk.
Clunk Clunk.
Well, that was the padlock sound, I think. That was my Law and Order.
What if
we
move Before Your Eyes up to 2 and go have a nice weekend?
What if Bravely Default 2 for Forgotten City? Because does anyone here really care that much about the Forgotten City?
Yeah, I care about Forgotten City.
Do you are you passionate about the Forgotten City?
I want Bravely Default 2 instead of Psychonauts 2. I want to make a different trade for it.
I go down to the numbers. We got multiple people who really enjoyed Psychonauts 2.
And people who didn't like
Suddenly,
it.
I think I really like Bravely Default 2.
No!
I actually think
There's me. There's Game Onesis. There's, Jay. There's like 3 people right there.
Wait, hold on a second. No, I like Psychonauts.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you. Sweet Jesus, thank you.
I'm a little mad that Leo's pushing down my Returnal, but
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. I thought Sarah wasn't.
I didn't know when did that
I would
happen?
rather have Returnal at 2 than Before Your Eyes at 2.
I think
Sarah's the smartest. She had like a 4.0 or something like that. Her parents are
That is true. That is true.
I really feel like Returnal to me sounds like a solid experience all around.
Sure.
And it's still in the top 5. Before Your Eyes is still in the top 5 for whatever reason, but
because
for
it's
reasons yet unknown.
a beautiful depiction of humanity and what life is about.
Wait, you have it at 3 now? You got above Deathloop? Let's just...
that's weird how that happened.
I'm hitting Control-Z a couple times and just putting it back where it was.
Okay, moving it back down to 4. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel...
I still wouldn't mind swapping Life is Strange for Before Your Eyes as well, to be honest.
Absolutely not.
I hear a stronger fight for Before Your Eyes.
Yeah.
Look, I was just one of the first, I was on Before Your Eyes from the jump, okay? I played one of those developers' demos 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Life is Strange is a better story than Before Your Eyes.
Strongly disagree for overall experience. And the fact
I did enjoy before the story of Life is Strange a little bit more than Before Your Eyes.
What?
If I had to sit through both of those experiences again, I would rather have to sit through Life is Strange True Colors.
Really? You think overall experience, Life is Strange is better than Before Your Eyes? That seems outrageous to me as a concept.
To be fair, I don't really like either of them, but...
I'll take it. And again, I love Before Your Eyes, so I don't mind camping it, but I just genuinely, I thought about those games a lot, and I feel like Life is Strange is better.
I just want to give it up for such a unique mechanic. And I am speaking as a person who played neither, but just like, I think it's so cool to do something really.
We are at that point of the call.
Really
right.
Right.
Yeah.
If you want,
I love the idea of like playing a game by blinking your eyes. There's nothing else like that.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you.
Yeah, I played each for an hour, and I think Before Your Eyes is cool.
Thank God. Okay. There's a wall forming. Okay, I feel good.
So are the top 4? Do we have anything that is locked? Maybe we should start using that lock just to clarify what we're doing here.
I think that the big thing that we haven't talked about, but it's weird, is that Chicory's number 1.
It's not weird. It's the smartest move we've ever made.
I don't have a problem with it.
I think
don't
it's fun.
either.
I don't either.
I played it for like an hour, but I kind of think that's I like it.
It seems like the one that everyone's on board with. Like, I haven't heard any dissenting. Like, everyone has just had nice things to say. We've all played it to some degree, right? And we've all enjoyed it. I think me and Kyle have played the least, and we both feel like I want to play more of it based on what everyone has said.
Yeah, it's the one that, like, you know, when I go to play a game at whatever, you know, today, tomorrow, like, it's going to be Chicory after having this discussion on the call. Right. Even with a bunch of other cool games on there that I'm excited. Like Echoes of the Eye, I do need to try now, but Chicory is going to be the one that I go and like, all right, let me pick this back up. I need to see this.
And for the record, we can still hear your fingers a lot, Kyle.
Damn it. All right.
I don't know what you think is going on here.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I mean, it feels so bold to put as number 1. I really like Chicory. It's like, it's not. What
else would you put? You just want to do like a safer move? You just want to move Deathloop up there so we can cleanse our hands?
I'm not advocating a swap in any real way. I'm just trying to point out, like, the puzzles in Chicory, it's like sometimes frustrating, nothing too brilliant for a game all about little puzzles.
At this point, it is going to be a swap, though. If you move it down, it's either going to be Returnal at the top, or we're going to move Deathloop up to the top.
Before Your Eyes.
It's not going to the top.
I know it's
I'm
not.
sorry that you cried, but it's not moving to the top.
I disagree with the puzzle comment. Some of them are obtuse. Was it obtuse, or did you just not know how to do it? Because there is a difference, and I've lived in that for a lot, because I struggle with some puzzles as well. But like, did you feel like when you saw a solution that it was
not
dumb,
to shame you, Hanson? But you're not great at puzzles.
I know.
I've gotten lots of text messages from you with a picture of your TV saying, "What do I do here?" Nothing wrong with that.
100%.
That's totally fine.
100%.
Please text me whenever you want. But
no doubt, I'm horrific. I know for an action adventure game that's about exploring the world and solving these little puzzles. I never felt like this is a brilliant puzzle, which is the opposite of how I felt going through every moment of It Takes Two. Is this is a brilliant little piece of platforming design. That's just what I'm expressing. I'm not advocating a swap. I'm expressing how I feel about Chicory.
Okay, you've expressed it. I acknowledge it.
Thank you.
And it's going to stay at number 1.
This feels like it's giving, now I feel like I am playing It Takes Two. It's giving like free couples therapy. It's like, look, you said it. I heard you. What?
I acknowledge it.
It's like, yeah, but it's the way you said it. It's the way you said it.
What? Yeah, it's not quite a... What are we? We're like a double thruple, technically. That's what we're trying to work through here as a big group. What is that? Leo, you're into this weird stuff. What is that?
I feel like we can just walk that back, Control-Z that comment, and just...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not adding that.
Again, Chicory is number 1, I think. I feel like that's over. But for the sake of the conversation, is there something that you think is number 1 above Chicory, Ben?
It's a great question.
That isn't Before Your Eyes.
That is based on the conversations, not my gut, but based on these conversations.
If you say Guardians of the Galaxy, I will
Sarah,
leave.
you can't just throw out a worst case scenario.
I will leave.
I didn't even whisper it. I didn't even mouth the letters yet.
I get that it is part of the job and the role you're playing here, but then I want 2 answers because they seem like they're different.
Yeah.
What would you say? Because you've asked everyone their opinion. We haven't really gotten a lot of your direct opinion. And then you can give the group sentiment that you're feeling, but what is your opinion on it?
Of what I think is the greatest game of the year?
From this list, yes.
From this list, probably WarioWare Get It Together.
From this list, there's always that student.
Yeah,
I'll say it again.
I think personally, I would put Before Your Eyes as number 1, but this group, I understand how we're feeling in general. I think Chicory's a solid choice for the group, but there's a thing.
What is it? What is it like the one? Is it just the puzzle?
Do you have a second, a number 2? from Before Your Eyes that you would put? What's your number 2 then? Because we're not going to put Before Your Eyes.
Yeah, I understand that.
I think that's been solidified.
Okay, let's fuse where we're at in the group. Let's just focus on this group stuff.
I think we were all fine with Chicory being 1.
Yeah, I know.
Right? I think you're the only one that's like...
And I feel like I'm not going to change my opinion to match yours, as much as you may think.
I would never.
Yeah, I understand that. Look, I've taken some hits on this list, everybody. This thing.
Oh, you've taken some hits.
I've been bleeding on this list.
You've taken some hits.
Sarah, it's number 9.
You've taken the most hits.
Piece of DLC is number 9 on here. Come on now.
Not a DLC.
I knew you weren't over that.
Yeah, come on. When you have like that availability, that stuff's going to happen.
I know. Yep.
That's why we wouldn't allow it. It doesn't exist.
Hey, look,
nothing wrong with it. We just can never talk about it then?
What's this?
Talking about what?
DLC?
No, I'm just joking.
I feel like when you allow it to like say like, oh, we can have DLC and then say, why is DLC on here? You know why? Because you opened the door and there's good DLC out there. So people are going to throw it on there. Now, if you don't want
that was internalized.
DLC. You should have said no DLC.
I'm joshing.
Right. If you felt that way.
I love that it's on here. I'm happy it's on here for everybody. And I celebrate all DLC. No, honestly, I'm fine with it. Like, it is a weird line, but I like sticking with our line of just
Star Wars, but they hate Star Wars. They hate their favorite thing. It doesn't make any sense.
I like sticking with the rules of just passion's passion, whatever format this game is. Jeffem, you've sat here and listened to everybody. Would you wiggle anything?
I mean, personally, I would have Halo Infinite much higher, but that's. I like the entire top. You all made great arguments. I'm not going to fight against anything. It's great. Looks good.
Yeah, but if you had to make an argument, though.
If I had to make an argument, I would move Hanson's favorite game off the list.
Come on, you dirty dog.
No,
no chance.
No, it's.
I just want to know, why would you bring it back just to knock it off again?
You're saying it's not on there. It's not on the list.
It's on this document.
It's on the document.
I'm looking at it now.
Well, people watching aren't.
I'm people watching.
Well,
I see it there.
I guess we're all people watching in a way.
I've lost what exactly we're arguing about, but I will say, maybe to bring it back to something relevant. We started this, and I was like, I don't know what game of the year is for this group. I have no clue.
Yeah.
But the second, honestly, early on, when you put Chicory up there at number 1, I was like, that feels pretty good. Mm-hmm. It didn't hurt my soul in any way or feel wrong. I like it. And I'm talking as someone who's only played about an hour of it, who's excited to play more.
Yeah, just to continue poking a little bit. Janet,
poke. That's all you do. What are you Facebook over here? You want to send some pokes?
What's the point of a list if you don't poke? We need this thing to be ironclad for when
it is. I don't know. It looks pretty ironclad to me.
It looks it.
I'm open to doing the final pokes, but I do think nothing is moving. I feel like we've talked about a lot, and it's.
I think I could see. Honestly, I think Dread should be above Village, but
that's interesting. Ooh.
But maybe other people don't, and then that would just be the end.
I like Village.
Discuss both those games.
I like Village more than Dread.
Okay.
I like Village more than Dread myself. Yeah.
I'd put Dread above Village.
But they're neck and neck.
Yeah.
They're 6 and 7, so.
How do we feel about Returnal and Deathloop? Is there a swap there?
I like Deathloop more, but also I did not see through Returnal because I felt incapable of seeing through it mentally and physically. So, for me there would be, but I'm not married to that. I think, not just Kyle's input, but also just the wider industry conversations. I don't know anyone who was able to spend time with that game and did not think it was fantastic. Though, Ben, to your credit, you spent 8 hours and you didn't. What happened there? Maybe you are the person who sees more issues with it than I was able to even see because I didn't spend very much time with it.
Yeah, this is the physical version of the mental version for the Chicory argument, where I'm so bad at games that I enjoyed it as a podcast game for 8 hours, did not get very far, and said, well, that's a cool thing that Housemarque made. I'm really happy for him. I definitely had more fun with Deathloop this year, and a lot of people enjoy Deathloop compared to Kyle loving Returnal, no doubt about it, but
I liked.
I mean,
I liked Returnal more than Deathloop, and I didn't play Returnal, but I like Returnal more than Deathloop.
Again, she's very smart. 4.0. Dr. Clarence.
It is ridiculous.
I mean, Returnal is the zestier choice there.
It is zesty. That's true.
Deathloop has had a lot of dissent that Returnal clearly doesn't have.
Yeah.
And Deathloop is still 3. It's still 3.
No, Jeffem's been trying so hard for so long.
Yes, please. I would say that out of these games, Returnal, based on Kyle's description and passion, is the one that I want to play most.
Yeah. Okay.
Even having played some Deathloop and enjoyed it, this sounds like I'm more enthusiastic about that and interested.
Yeah. Boy.
I mean, hey, look, Sony bought Housemarque. They didn't buy Arcane.
Well, they couldn't.
Yeah, because Microsoft already bought it.
Good point.
Has Microsoft bought them?
Yeah.
Let me command Z that. I'm a MacBook.
Yeah.
But Sony didn't buy Microsoft, which owns Arcane.
Checkmate.
So that shows how interested they are.
No, once. So what does that say?
What was that, Janet?
I said Microsoft tried to buy Nintendo once.
That is true. That is true.
That was a true fact of game history. I personally feel pretty good about everything except for the Bravely Default 2 thing, purely because, and Jeff and I do appreciate you throwing that out there and bringing it back into the fold. However, I don't appreciate it being brought back into the fold and then just to be murdered again.
Right.
I feel like if anyone is willing to swap anything, I'll take anything I can get at this point to fight for the people in my apartment who played through so much of that game. Like everyone ate it up. Like that. It's really good. It's very good.
Hey, no doubt about it. Every game we've mentioned, worth checking out, everybody. Maybe once we get into like the 60s on this list, it's a little dodgy, but you get the idea.
I don't know, but sure. It's a nice thing to say, I think.
How do we feel about...
I think this is the best list we've ever made. I think we did it.
Kyle, what's happening behind you? Is there like construction in your living room at this point with that sound?
His feet are going into a meat grinder. That's why he's getting...
I'm sorry. I wasn't sure how much is coming through. I am muting. My closet is right next to a bathroom where someone is bathing. So there's some water flowing.
Ooh, you live with goddesses?
I'll keep muting unless I have something really important to say, like about how Sony bought Housemarque.
That's so funny. Okay.
You asked them how they feel about our list so far. Do we want to like take to the streets and start showing this to people?
I think we should, yeah.
Like run around and be like, does this look okay to you?
Right.
People are going to be really mad at a lot of it, I think.
Yeah, we could just ask the world, like, should we move Metroid Dread down a slot?
Why do you want to move Metroid Dread down so bad?
Because I'm not a big Metroid guy and I had a fine time with it, but 7 seems...
Someone from the comments said that even if it doesn't move, they want to hear Leo's enthusiastic passion for Riders Republic, which I think you hinted at earlier, and I just want to live on your enthusiasm for that game.
Yeah, man,
we want to see what happiness looks like.
I want to bathe in your comments.
I struggle with games sometimes, as far as, I feel like everything I've played, I've already played. And it's like, am I just sick of games? Am I just burnt out in general? Do I need to just try and mix up my hobbies? And then I play something like Riders Republic, and I'm like, no, this is what I feel when a game is working right for me. And it's so... I just will run out of things to do because I've done all my dailies and I've done pretty much every event in that game. And I'll be like, okay, well, I'll just do a photo shoot for all of my different outfits then and post those all to the community. And that's something I've certainly never cared about doing in any other game. I have a signature trick that I developed myself, a Switch 540 Rodeo.
Hell yeah.
It's very aesthetically pleasing, and I love to do it when I'm killing time between events or whatever. It's like every second you are traversing that world, you're just tricking and improving your skill level at it. And there's just nothing I can compare it to. And the fact that it came out of nowhere, that it's not Steep 2 even, it's like this new IP from Ubisoft who does not do new IPs nearly ever. And honestly, they've been missing for me for a long time. It was such a beautiful surprise, and I am going to be playing it. I play it like 4 days a week to get all my weeklies and dailies and stuff, and I will continue that for a long-ass time.
So you're saying move it up?
Switch it with before your
Why does it always have to be about bullets? Why couldn't, it was a nice suggestion. It was a lovely moment. And then it had to be
brass tacks.
Something. Yes.
Smooth number.
I don't have a problem with it where it is.
Great.
As long as I get to say my piece about it. So, and I feel like I've had plenty of podium to do that with these past couple episodes. So I appreciate that.
I think it's time to say those key words. Hey, is this the list?
I'm happy with it.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to know why Bravely Default 2 can't be. I just want to ask one last time. Is there really no space for that to move? Like, I think it is one of the best games I've played this year. It is like my number 5 or 6 game.
Has gotten more marketing on this podcast. Like, we've talked about Bravely Default more than we've talked about a lot of this game, a lot of the games on the list, just because we're trying to move it up. So in a way, it's already kind of the secret winner. Mm-hmm. Like, the real winner of this is Bravely Default 2, because literally nobody else is going to talk about it.
Right. Yes.
Because I haven't heard a word about it.
Correct.
And we think that Chicory is the winner, but actually it's the fact that Bravely Default 2 got talked about so highly.
We've talked about Bravely Default 2 more than the marketing department.
Right.
Yeah.
For Bravely Default 2.
Absolutely. We've lived with it more than the developers have, I believe. Jan, is that sincere?
Is what sincere? Like my question?
Yeah. Like, do you really?
Yeah, it's always sincere. Yeah. But like,
we need to make pitches for what to swap it in with.
Democracy has failed me many a times. Like, I'm a U.S. citizen. So this is going to be what's going to be. But I just wanted to ask. I'm just asking a question.
I hear you, and on the big listometer, it's like Forza Horizon 5. I feel like is the buddy of Bravely Default 2, where it's my number 5 for the year, somewhere in that arena as well, and it's just partnered with it, and it's just not cracking through in this group.
I mean,
I would crack it for Forgotten City, but you won't let me do that.
You told me that it was locked.
For a lot of conversations here so far, we've had the group, if 2 of the group loved it, but 2 of them hated it. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't get that high. I feel like we haven't let that happen with Forgotten City because there's a big lock on it.
Mm-hmm.
Are you trying to move it up?
And maybe it's time for the lock to come off.
Oh my God. It's free. It's just a normal entry.
Whole thing out because anyone can edit this doc, but I am down for the sanctity of this Google Doc that was made, like a week ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sarah?
What?
You played Forgotten City.
You want to move a Skyrim mod up?
I'm not moving it.
Look me in the eye
Stop
and tell me that you want a Skyrim mod to move up above Forza Horizon 5.
You're always guessing where I'm going to go, and it's the most negative, terrible possible guess every time, which is alarming.
Valheim can't be number 1, Hanson.
I'm not saying. I just said your name.
Unbelievable. Let it go.
I'm not moving it up. I'm just saying Forgotten City is unlocked in this world. I like Forgotten City as number 20 on this list. I think it's a great spot for it. Leo and I both enjoyed that game a lot. And I was trying to get a read, Sarah, on how negative you were on Forgotten City. I understand you didn't like aspects of it and the ending of it, but are you disgusted with it being on 2 tens?
I mean, I'm not disgusted with it because I guess some people like kind of games like that, and I can't fight about it.
Sure.
It can stay there, but I just feel like that there's other games below it which could be higher than it. Games that have had way more in them, like Forza Horizon 5 or Bravely Default 2, that aren't Skyrim mods, that already came out years ago.
Well, no, it's completely rebuilt. You can't just say it's an old.
It has the same exact crouch mechanic, bow mechanic, stealth mechanic.
I don't think if it doesn't matter if it's a mod. I think that's like totally.
Yeah, and also it was
There's a new story. The story used to be within the world of Skyrim.
Yeah, it's completely rebuilt. Like just the idea of looping a couple characters.
I'm doing a bend, and I'm poking it. Okay, it deserves to get poked.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm about to start punching it.
It's poke worthy. I'm not saying it's not poke worthy.
I would concede it to Bravely Default 2.
Leo, no, I need you on this. I need you on this.
I'm sorry. My passion, if Forgotten City was 21 and Bravely Default 2 was 20, I wouldn't have the passion that Janet has for getting it back on.
Yeah. All right. It's been unlocked. You've unearthed the bowels of hell. It has happened. Okay. Did I do that?
Or we could just, instead of the 2 tens, we could make it the 110 and the 111. Does that still work?
No.
I think it's got a good
number
ring to it.
will always get
Better
bigger
just
and bigger and
everywhere.
bigger if we do that
Yeah.
now. We can't do that. 2
12
years it'll
and
be
14.
the
Game is good and it happens to be a JRPG. I then have to finish it in its entirety, which is a big. It's like 100 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I was busy playing all these other games. Okay, like I made a mistake. I don't think this game should suffer for it.
Will you finish this over the holiday break, Janet?
Absolutely not.
Why would you say that? Just lie!
Why
It's
should
already
I?
up there. What's
How many
she's
of these
gonna
games
have
have-
to
No, Ben!
No.
Come on.
That's damning.
Oh, when are you gonna
It's
finish
damning.
Valheim?
It's
You finishing
damning.
that over the break?
What's that?
You literally can't tell Ben the
Valheim.
truth. If you show
When are
any
you
weakness,
finishing
he will pull
Valheim?
your game.
No, you can't okey doke me. I've beaten 48 games and counting this year. I've played probably more. Like
You've played
don't-
more
if
than
you
I
wanna
think
go
anybody on
really
this show.
toxic with it, I've put a bunch of hours into this. I don't have a real job, Ben. I just show up here and afterwards I just go and I do whatever. Okay?
I get it.
I have nothing but time, and just because I didn't want to pour all that time into Bravely Default 2, so I'd have time to unpack and take 2 for too long. No.
I just think it's tough when you say that you have no interest in finishing it.
That's why you have to lie to
You
Ben.
didn't ask me if I had interest. You said, would I do it?
Yeah, that is
They're
true.
the same
Are
question.
you going to finish
aren't they?
Valheim? Are you finishing Valheim this break? Am I going to see you squaring up in Valheim over the break?
Yeah, I'm gonna play a lot of
The
that on
holidays?
this break. Hell
Really?
yeah. Hell
I mean,
yeah.
I will say the games that I love do supersede my other responsibilities. I played Solar Ash twice instead of playing Halo Infinite because I loved it so dearly. So I think it is like
Fine, we'll
a
take Halo
factor.
Infinite off, put Bravely Default 2 on there.
Wait, what was that?
I was like, fine, we'll take Halo Infinite off then.
I disagree there.
Jeff loves Halo Infinite.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I'm
was
happy.
on
I'm
your
happy with
side,
Bravely
Janet.
Default 2 being on there. Yeah.
sure.
I'm just saying, if you follow this logic, we are then, and I'm not going to lie just to get it on there. If we follow that logic, a lot of these games wouldn't be on there.
Are we gonna go finish them?
Yeah.
I disagree.
You're going to finish every game on this list.
No, absolutely not. But the game that I'm championing to be on the list, yeah, absolutely, I would finish that.
You didn't ask me if I finish it. You said, would I do it over the break? That's 2
Okay.
weeks.
Okay. All right. Will you eventually finish Bravely Default 2?
Sure.
Say yes, thank you.
Let the record show is sure.
I
Okay.
don't know if I believe that, sure, but let's take it.
Okay.
I really respect the honesty.
Life's long if you're lucky. Yeah, why not?
The two tens, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. The list counting from number 20 up to number 1. This is Bravely Default 2. Psychonauts 2. This is the bottom 10, just to be very clear. Unpacking, Resident Evil 4 VR, Halo Infinite, Solar Ash, Riders Republic, It Takes Two, Valheim, Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker, Top 10. From 10 to 1, Hitman 3, Outer Wilds, Echoes of the Eye, Guardians of the Galaxy, Metroid Dread, Resident Evil Village, Life is Strange, True Colors, Before Your Eyes, Deathloop, Returnal, and number 1, Chicory, A Colorful Tale.
Great list. Good list.
Anybody feeling pissy?
No.
I'm feeling a little pissy, but that's what a good list is
You
about.
got a lot on this list.
I'm happy with this list. I'm happy with the victories.
You sound happy. I believe. Say it again, and I'll believe you this time.
I am happy with this collective list. You know, like Kyle mentioned, who knows how this group is going to shake out, but this feels like a pretty good representation of where we're at and the overall year for 2021.
I like it. There are things on here that I didn't spend as much time with, or maybe haven't spent any time with, and there's also stuff that I really know well. Like I think it seems like a list that we all made together.
Mm-hmm. I feel represented.
Good.
In this
Yeah,
list.
that's
I feel
all
like
we're
this
going
list
for.
is probably one of the most diverse top lists I've seen out there, I gotta say.
Yeah.
Which I think is good.
Yeah. And I came away with a lot of games I want to go play now from hearing them talked about.
Yeah.
Which means there were some great arguments.
That's the goal. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching or listening, and especially for sharing the MinnMax show. If you enjoyed our Game of the Year debates, any help spreading the word is greatly appreciated, and just about the podcast in general. But everyone's been really great about that, so we definitely appreciate all your help. I want to thank all the cohorts for a great year here at MinnMax. Leo Vader, thank you for being so fun this year. Kyle, thank you for your attitude this year. Just wonderful. Jeffem, thank you for all you've done this year. Appreciate the time. Sarah Podzorski, thank you for coming on and gracing us with your presence. Thank you for being here. Janet Garcia, thank you so much for being a champion on so many fronts, and especially when it comes to getting through these games. You are, and this isn't Bravely Default 2 weird side talk, but you genuinely are a machine for going through video games every year. So thank you for all your effort this year. It's greatly appreciated. All right, and thank you so much to everybody in the thank you crew.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Ben, thank you for your work hosting and putting everything together every week. I really appreciate it, and I like the ways that you've been very transparent behind the scenes, just kind of one-on-one of being like, hey, how can I do this better? And like, how can we get more of your voices in there? And I really feel like that's an ethos and a pillar for how you're building this. And maybe it doesn't always come through on the other sides or whatever, and it can be improved, but I feel like you're always making those efforts, and I really appreciate it. And I feel like we have goofy, weird things here, like the Sarah the Horse Girl, iconic moment in video game history. And like, you always go for that stuff. And frankly, we spend most of our time just thinking of weird names for our silly ideas that you always, encourage us to have. So, I just wanted to thank you for your work and all that, and I'm excited for next year.
That's very sweet. Thank you so much, Janet. Very, very sweet of you to go out of your way. Thank you to everybody at $50 tier as well. Patrick Polk, Another Eden's Chrono Cross crossover, Andrew Uerkwitz, Opposwitch on Xbox, Shakes True King Music, Kris, Fixture Gaming's Fixture S1, I am 8-Bit, DivergeCoffee.com, Zachary Pligge, Ludwig Roque, Andrew Vala, BeatenDownBrian, PrettyGoodPrinting.com, Jawarhello, MisterNomer, John Higby, Waranis, Steve Bamdad, Clemens, Zobel, Purebred number 6, Starkiller, Spider Dan, Sparrow in Your Eyes, Pritham Yarlagata, Journal Indeed 99, and Ron with 2 N's. Thanks so much for a great year, everybody. We'll see you next year. Bye. Be good, have fun. Let's go.